and they can brace themselves for what might be in a communication from an
this
incident.
person.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
I will note that, and I will add in a note at the end stating that you wish to speak with them and that you will be sending communication shortly, simply so they can expect that. And if they so choose, send a response asking either please give us some time or refusing if they so choose.
Yeah.
Or if they want to reach out to you earlier rather than later, if that's all right.
Sure. No, that makes total sense. Past that, I mean, this is a short ride, and he's not going to sit here and try to record that on the back of the shuttlecraft.
Right.
He would, not knowing exactly what's going to be in his quarters when he gets there, he knows what's in his personal effects, but he's currently short one tricorder. He would probably snag that and a pad out of the equipment locker, like right as he walks on.
Probably.
Attach the tricorder. Yep. Attach the tricorder to his belt next to his modified one. And sit down and start reading up on basic tribble physiology.
Okay. Pretty... Obviously, that data is well known throughout the Federation. It's going to be on a pad for you. Nothing you need to research. It's easy to get a hold of. And the information is definitely new to you, as you're not a medical person in the least bit. Was any of your past lives medical related?
Yes. No. I've had not xenobiological.
Okay.
They would be Trill and Starfleet medical.
Okay.
As no xenobiology.
Okay. So yeah, the information is a little foreign to you. Just a little bit foreign to you. The research into tribbles has expanded since the 23rd century. Obviously, the first time seeing tribbles, depending on which Star Trek series you've watched, was either Discovery or the original series. However, the information on tribbles has, as research has gained, there was definitely a point in tribble history that there was a purge, but tribbles are one of those species that are persistent. You can never fully get rid of them. However, you do realize that you come across information on tribbles that if they are in the Federation's or Starfleet's hands, they tend to have their reproductive capabilities surgically altered so that way they don't, over repopulate a ship.
And your pets and your dear brothers.
Again, spay and neuter your pets, friends. So that's mostly where the research has come across.
He would be particularly interested in their diet.
Okay.
What they need in terms of food and hydration. Because he has a pack of snacks about this big. And Toulouse seems to have an appetite. So as soon as he gets on board, he's going to want to make sure that he has lots of not just Toulouse-friendly snacks, but also can actually make, see that Toulouse is properly fed.
Right. So Toulouse, what kind of food does Toulouse like to eat?
Cookies.
So the thing with tribbles is have you ever had a pet that can just eat anything and never get sick?
Yes, I got hound dog.
We have one of those in our house, including knives and a whole bar of chocolate. He is
That's
a dog.
just called Abe.
So, tribbles have been known to eat basically any sort of edible food that there is, including some things to tribbles within Starfleet ships and starships, some materials that, a bipedal humanoid type being might not want to eat ever because gross, they can eat, which is why they normally have their reproductive systems, surgically altered. And the information of their diet obviously coincides with their reproductive systems as they reproduce. They tend to reproduce asexually, as far as a Starfleet can surmise. You don't necessarily see now. Banna, obviously you'd know that Bryce was working with Toulouse, not just a pet, but obviously a research subject who also happens to be a pet. And
he's kind of counting on there being some Toulouse information on that thing, but he needs a primer so he can understand even that.
Right.
Research partner.
Research partner. There you go. I like that. Thank you. So yeah, you're not coming across any sort of super recent information regarding what Bryce may have been doing. You'll probably find those more in her personal files. However, Starfleet has basically said they are a species that happens, and that's where we're at. And if we come across pets, we're going to spay and neuter and release. So that's what you're learning so far. As everyone's doing that, the shuttle comes into view of the Insignia. You're going into the main shuttle bay, which is actually on the lower portion of the star drive section. And the doors open up, and you see this very large shuttle bay out the front window, because shuttles are not that big, they're 6, maybe 7 people, comfortably. And you see basically Insignia blazon on the very top of the door. It's a very scenic shot of you going through and in and landing. And through the front window, you can see that there's actually a Romulan standing where to meet you. And the shuttle door opens. You guys exit, including Con Officer number 5, who basically, my job's done, bye. And all of you step out of the shuttle, and you're met with a Romulan. And they go, "Welcome to the Insignia, ensigns. My name is Simeza. I am the first officer aboard the Insignia. Welcome aboard. I'll be taking you to your quarters. And for a small debriefing." They go to turn around, and then they realize there is supposed to be one more of you. And
there was an incident on the planet, and Ensign Windstat was hit by a phaser blast set to disintegrate by a regressed individual.
I will be expecting your reports. And then turns around and starts walking without letting you finish. Romulans are known for, not so much decorum, but so much getting to the point and moving on. A little bit like Vulcans, however, because Vulcan, Romulan, this is not the first Romulan you've seen in Starfleet. They aren't rare by any means. They're almost common. Let's think about how Klingons were during Captain Picard's time in main run in Starfleet. However, as they have now been officially recognized, it's been something that's been happening more often. So, do you follow Simeza?
Yeah.
Great. So Simeza is going to be taking you through the doors of the shuttle bay, which, are the nice double doors that kerchunk open and kerchunk close. Very satisfying sound. and basically walks you along the Insignia hallways and then goes, "Welcome to the Insignia. We have recently been retrofitted with a brand new sensor dish aboard. It is a special sensor dish, we are told, and our mission is to head into the Gamma Quadrant to research. Your reports will be expected by sorry, that was my watch. Your reports will be expected on what happened down on the planet by 1800 tomorrow, and I am going to take you to your quarters. Since you're ensigns, you three will be sharing quarters." And they go on to explain more about the ship, regulation, shift times, the whole, works. And then goes, "The captain regrets that they could not be here to introduce the ship to you themselves. They are busy currently." And it probably puts a little ping in your head about how you did get information on the crew of the ship. So Siamese is not necessarily a surprise, but the captain still not being identified is strange. Rekan.
Ma'am, who is the captain? We were told to report here and no other information was provided.
The captain's name is... They pause a little bit. The captain's name... She prefers to go by her first name, Captain Lex. Her full name is Lex Stadi. And goes to Rekan and says, "And as you would not know, I prefer to use they and them." And obviously, since this is the 24th century, that's all you need to do for it. That's all that happens. They don't give you any other information about the captain other than the name. And continues walking. It only takes a few minutes to get to a turbo lift and go up to the correct floor and then pull out, and you're basically in the crew quarter section of the ship, specifically still lower decks because you are ensigns, and you are brought to a room, and Siamesa goes, "And these are your quarters. I will arrange to have someone meet with you for debriefing tomorrow at 1800 hours with your reports. For now, please relax. You are not expected to be on duty for a week." One moment, please. As I
You answer it during a break. I had to get the thought out before.
understood. So we are we will your doors open for you. And crap. Okay, I'm actually going to resolve this right now because that's a lot of questions and I understand. Okay.
Looking it up right now.
So yeah, it's because we want to be respectful going forward. Like I know, male presenting is sir, female presenting is
use
ma'am.
commander. Just use
Commander.
And that was the other question. So we didn't know
Rank.
exactly rank.
Yeah,
Right.
rank of Siamesa is commander. They prefer they them. And captain's pronouns are she, her.
Which we should know that because at least for everybody except for the captain, because we've got their logs.
Correct. Siamesa, at one point in the conversation, giving you a little tidbits about the captain, did use she, her pronouns. So you're to assume she, her.
Okay.
And definitely just use commander. Simply rank pulls out any of the questions. So definitely go right ahead. That is okay.
Okay.
And
I still have the question just for personal knowledge now because the question has been put in my head. So thanks, Tyler.
which
I appreciate you.
Which question?
The seriously, if somebody prefers they them pronouns, how would you address them in a higher rank?
I don't
not in game, but like in.
See, that's a very good question. Like meta outside of game,
Right.
because one, since Starfleet is based on the U.S. Navy, it would have been technically these standards were made back, in the 60s that have been
Right.
kind of updated as things have gone along. However, our own military probably hasn't gotten caught up yet, so we'll figure it out at some point. If anyone who watches this later knows, please join our Discord. Please let us know. We'd love to. For now, we're going to work with Commander.
Okay.
All right. So the doors of your quarters open. Simeza is walking down the hall to go back up to the bridge, presumably. And you are met with a relatively decent-sized room. Since there are 3 of you living in here, there is 2 sets of bunk beds. They're comfy bunk beds. They're not, kids' bunk beds. They are proper sized for adults. And there is also 1 bed. The sleeping area is definitely combined. There is only 1 bathroom off to the right or so, and the sitting area is relatively small. Think of it as your, 600 square foot studio apartment made to house 3 people. There's a replicator on the left wall. You're entering, and you can actually, where there normally would be windows, you're actually in an internal room. So you don't even get to see the stars at night, which is, darn. But you're ensigns. You gotta work up to the star view. Toulouse.
The gender neutral for the same way you would use sir or ma'am is apparently MX, as in mix.
Mix can be used in place of Ms. or Mr.
This
The-
is saying it can
What?
be for sir and ma'am as well.
The one that I was going to suggest is Zer. XER.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Zare is also good. We'll determine that off screen, friends. But if you have a different suggestion, we'd love to hear it. So on the left is your standard food replicator. It can give you whatever you need food-wise. Welcome to Starfleet. And then your sitting area is very small. But what's interesting is you have normal computer terminals. There's 2 that are along. You walk in, the wall right here has 2 computer terminals that are fairly normal. However, along the wall that is in front of you that normally would result in windows, there are 2 actual computer panels. Like, if you were to think of the computer panels of the Runabout for the transporter systems, if you're familiar with Star Trek, it's basically two things and a flat panel of computer. However, the top isn't flat. It's kind of almost cubed. There's some light glowing through, and it's cubed. It looks out of place for a moment, and then suddenly the look changes to look like your standard computer terminal from this ship. And what do you guys do with all of that?
Did
Banna?
anyone just see that?
As you're walking in,
Yes.
everyone saw this.
This is in character. I'm confirming.
Oh, okay.
I'm not crazy.
Yes, but they shouldn't be in here to begin with. I don't.
No, they shouldn't. And he immediately yanks that new tricorder off his belt and starts scanning.
Okay.
To see what the hell.
Okay, we're actually gonna do our first roll.
Yay.
Okay, so let me pull up information on here. We're definitely going to do a engineering because that's right. Let's see. Let's do insight and engineering.
Cool. That means I'm rolling for under a 12. How many do I need to hit?
Do you like some help?
It's going to be it's going to be a 1 difficulty. It's not going to be difficult. And I'm going to say if anyone wants to help, why don't you make your own rolls in general? Just full on rolls with 1 difficulty for the same thing. So for engineering
Insight
and
and
insight.
engineering.
Yeah. So you got 2 successes?
Correct.
Toulouse is snuggled into that pocket. Toulouse doesn't see anything.
Yeah, okay, got it. Toulouse is chilling.
Toulouse doesn't want to be seen.
Understood. 1
Yeah,
success,
I got
Rekan?
Yep.
Trop, were you going to investigate or leave it to them?
Sure. Sorry, what are we rolling against?
Engineering and insight. So yours would be a 12, I think?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, a pop-up came up on my screen that I was trying
No
to
worries.
resolve. That's an 11. So
Okay.
just under.
So 1 success?
Yes.
Okay. Great. So,
The other one was a 13.
understood. All right. So, with your tricorders, with your normal tricorders, I'm guessing, Tropp, you still had a normal tricorder, but Rekan and Banna needed to pick up new ones, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Rekan's original is offline.
Correct. Okay. Speaking of offline, you notice that these terminals are offline, technically. They are not connected to the ship's network at all. They also have some sort of holographic field on them that is giving them the appearance of this ship's setup for technology. You're looking at your tricorder and Rekan, this is what you notice is that, holographic technology, it is odd, offline. Banna, with 2 successes, which is over what we needed, you're also noticing that this is not made out of a normal type of matter. This matter is completely unknown to you. If you were to guess, this type of matter might respond to the electrical stimuli a humanoid brain could produce to change things about the matter itself. However, it's going to take a little more investigation to completely understand what's going on. Also, these are really offline. You would have to try hard to get these connected to the ship's systems. But you're like, that's not possible. So what do you do with that information, friends? Tropp?
Would Anna say something about that last part to the rest of the crew?
Absolutely. I mean, he among friends, he will engineer out loud.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Like he's talking the whole way through, because he doesn't know what Rekan's saying. He knows you don't have a tricorder out. He has no idea if the Tribble's intelligent enough to understand, but he's still going to say it all out loud.
We don't know. Don't finger waggle us.
So Tropp would then ask, do you think that this would be able to change its shape into very specific things, the more precise the mental image?
Right.
So is anyone going to interact with these things or
Yes.
one of them?
I mean,
Tropp is going to try to, but he's
Yeah.
he's asking Banna about it first because he has a reason to ask. You know,
My best guess at this point is yes.
all
I
right.
don't really understand what this stuff is yet, other than it doesn't immediately seem to be dangerous.
Okay. Tropp is going to try something.
What is Tropp
He's
going to
going-
try?
He's going to approach it, and
Okay.
he is going to specifically think about expecting it to interact in the same way as his personal pad that he used throughout his training in Starfleet.
Okay.
He's going to have that specific mental image. And remember, he grew up on Beta Z, interacting with a lot of people who can read minds. He is very, very good about thinking about a very, very specific thing.
Great. So, as you're approaching it, and do you do anything with your hands? Like, are you going to so right now it looks like your standard like terminal that you could tippy tap with your hands and
Yes,
okay.
kinda, yes.
Okay.
So he's going to approach it. He's not going to immediately touch it because he wants to see if it can respond without it being touched. However, after about a minute, if it doesn't do anything, then yes, he will reach out and touch it.
So, just walking up to it does nothing, as your standard computer terminal does. You're thinking about the mental image of that pad that you used throughout your academy training. It was always the special pad. It was one that it had very special meaning to you. Why did it have very special meaning to you?
Mainly because it being the one that he used throughout his entire time at Starfleet, he had a lot of time to tinker with it and get all of the settings exactly the way that he wanted them, and everything stored in exactly the way that his brain wanted it to be stored, that
Excellent.
made sense to him.
Great.
So,
obvious, when you walk up and you're just thinking about this, nothing happens. When you start to put your hands over it, the holographic image of this particular terminal actually melts away and you're revealed with its actual form, which it actually does look much like a same terminal, but the smooth black glass is replaced by there's some glowing blue light in between what looks like cubes of black, just almost charcoal colored type things. As you put your hands over it, it actually comes up and connects with your hand a little bit. And immediately a holographic image pops up in front of you, and it is basically the visual representation of that pad in hologram form. It is giving you the same information that you had, simply because this is information that you had on Starfleet databases. So it's pulling it up. It just looks exactly like you would see your pad, just blown up a little bit.
First of all, Banna's eyes bug out of his head.
Brr, 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 like Looney Tunes.
Secondly, he looks at Tropp and goes, "Ooh, that pad.
yes,
Is there something special about it?"
it's mine.
Banna repeats what he's seen Tropp do. And so he took a specialization in prosthetics and cybernetics,
Okay.
with particular interest in wearable holographic control systems.
Okay.
Think about how the Jem'Hadar ship.
Yep. The original idea for the Google Glass.
Yes.
Yes.
So he grabs a hold of the side of this thing and pictures the prototype he built as a capstone project for that course
Okay.
at the academy. Trying to imagine that holographic display with its little headpiece and all that to see if he can get a holographic headpiece.
So again, you walk up to the second terminal. and the 24th century image melts away, and you're left with, you know, the weird glowing black cube thing that comes up, and actually, you know, you don't have to place your hand, you know, too far above. Like, as soon as you get down here, it's like, and in front of you pops up the holographic image of what you did, again, because it's information that is readily available in Starfleet's database about, you know, what you're asking for. And it basically gives you the nice, you know, slow rotating image, and then next to it is the technical specs that come with the actual product itself and everything there. And what you're seeing is the LCARS image around it is a little bit different. One would say it's a little bit sleeker. It's a little bit more modern. It's more monotoned as opposed to multicolored. It's not, you know, the orange, purple, blue, pink type colors. It's more of like a general wash of blue, with, you know, hints of the teal and darker teals, and it's not as bulky, it's thinner, and the image just looks, it's sleeker. It's just a sleeker, three-dimensional holographic version of LCARS in front of you as well. And Tropp, you would notice that in your pad image that you're thinking of, that's pulling up the information, the same LCARS design has been applied within the pads, you know, thing.
I'd say Bono would see if he could manipulate it. Like,
As in,
his hands are down here, but he wants to interact with the information in front of him.
great. So you do that. You take your hands up. It does disconnect. However, now you can, like, you know, in the air, spin it this way. You know, touch the information to bring up, you know, other things. And it's just like a computer screen in front of you where you can interact with it. And since, you know, this is 24th century Star Trek, you already have AR, you know, LCARS to begin with. However, it's tactile this time. You go and you spin the item, and it's like you're in a holodeck spinning the item, sort of deal. You feel a touch, Rekan.
So, seeing this, Rekan would go look at Tropp and Banna and go, "May I for a moment?"
Yeah, Bono would be like, once he knows it's done, he would step away because he needs to think,
Okay.
and he'll go get a Raptogino, and a little tray of cookies.
So Rekan would walk up and touch it, picturing the medical overlay that he's used to, and pull up the gene strand for the aromatic syndrome.
And
Because
that pops up.
with his extensive background in the xenobiology, though, he knows how long it takes for the current systems to be able to pull and stretch genes.
Right. To basically do a whole gene analysis and pull down each protein and the whole nine, right?
Right.
Okay.
What he would do is, after seeing Banna rotate, is he would reach up, separate it, add an extra part, and have it analyze to see how much faster it is.
So
you're saying it's sleeker, shinier.
So the thing is as you take that and you manipulate it and you try and do it, it doesn't actually start analyzing at all. It seems like it can't. It seems like it can display information. It just, there's processing power in it. However, the processing power is meant to process everything. Go ahead.
As soon as he sees that, he's looking for an input jack.
Tropp
is still on the other one, and he would probably recognize what Rekan's doing. in that you're probably specifically looking, for, like around it to see if there's a way to plug it in.
Okay.
Yeah, because Banna has told us it's completely offline. Like it would be a struggle to get this back.
Mm.
And go ahead.
We don't know who put this here, and whoever put this here probably didn't connect it for a very good reason. Once we connect this to the ship's computers will recognize it as here. I don't think they want that to happen yet.
I'm not connecting it to the ship.
Ah.
And he holds up his tricorder.
That's exactly what I do. Yeah.
There's data here. If this is faster than our current technology, it can process this faster than the three of us and the ship combined.
And at that, we're going to do a mini 5-minute break because your GM has to go pee.
So does your impromptu ensign captain.
Okay. Be right back.
Sticky. I wish I wish we could bring kitties up here, but we can't. This is a kitty-free zone.
So I need Banna to get back.
One, I love all of you because this is just great. I love this.
I want to see what happens when we put Toulouse on it.
Oh. Jeez.
No. Like, think. It reacts to how we process data individually. So I want to see how Toulouse processes data. Toulouse was the one that pointed out the information at the Xerxes 4 base.
I wasn't expecting that.
I'm sorry, I could not.
No, you can. That's fine. I just because I wasn't expecting it doesn't mean I'm not prepared to bullshit my way around it.
Sir,
you
know me.
Fuck you. Jeez.
Plus, I want to make sure Kayla gets to participate instead of just sit there and eat cookies.
You
I don't
muted,
have any
girl.
cookies.
Oh, well,
You just have
eating Reese
Reese's.
cups then.
So I apologize if I'm looking at my phone. Patty's texting me, so
Oh, okay. No worries.
I just wanted to make sure I'm not, not paying attention here. But
Stop.
Yeah,
Pay
no,
attention.
I
Get off your pad, Tropp.
I knew exactly the
sorry,
moment.
I have 6 parental figures. Okay, catching up with the aunts and uncles takes a little while.
It does. Really though, this is already going. This is great. This is great. Just tossing things at you, seeing what happens.
Can I make an insight roll on this if this would be section 30, 31?
There are no. I mean, okay. There technically the system does allow you to insight roll in a way, but it's not as simple.
Because that was my first thought was this has got to be something from section.
Well, let's see where the investigation goes with plugging in data.
So I also need you to clarify, when you say offline, are you meaning offline, like no internet connection whatsoever, or offline from the ship?
Offline from the ship. However, it can receive data locally. So think it will allow Bluetooth to Bluetooth device, however, not general Wi-Fi.
Okay, so basically what I'm trying to make sure is that we're not going to get emails on this thing from section.
I cannot confirm nor deny.
Because that would determine if Rekan hooks that up or not. If he could find.
Well, there needs to be there needs to be another type of investigation of some sort. I'm not exactly sure what that investigation is, but if it has to be more of a physical investigation as opposed to using a tricorder.
Oh yeah, that was looking for data input jack, Ethernet cable, whatever. Like I want to make sure, like even if it means going into the settings and like.
No, I get that. You're okay, Alex? Ooh. Cookies. The turnovers. Hello.
Hello.
All right.
Ensign Dari is back with his replicated cookies.
Yes, yes. Okay.
The
So
replicator won't give the secret recipe for those.
So, Rekan, you wanted to look for an input jack.
Yeah, it's so Rekan is basically wanting to make sure that any data can be put on here in a faster means than the Bluetooth. But at the same time, he also wants to make sure that if we do put data on here, it's not going anywhere, or
Understood.
nobody else. So if that means like pulling up the core operating system and like disabling Wi-Fi, disabling Bluetooth.
They do not auto update.
I have an idea. If you're doing what I think you're doing, hold on. Banna would go grab like the nearest, like in his personal effects, he would have like isolinear chips just sitting around for random data transfers.
Right.
Takes one, slaps it into his pad, and starts writing out the model number of the original ship that he and his brother rebuilt in their shop on Trill.
Okay.
Yanks it out
Okay.
of the pad.
Okay.
And says, if you find an input jack, put this in first.
Okay.
Okay.
The isolinear ship.
So, since you're physically searching, I'm going to ask you to give me actually an insight and security, because you're looking for anything that could be potentially insecure about this option, these things. So I believe for you that
It's
would
a 10.
be, yeah. Banna, would you like to assist with this? Then
Yes.
the Banna assist is going to be an insight and engineering, because you're looking at from the engineering point.
That is
Difficulty
Go ahead.
a difficulty level of 1.
That is a 1 and a 9.
Okay, so
Yeah,
that's 2 successes and
2 from me.
okay,
It's an 11 and a 6.
So 3 successes.
3 successes because assist is a 1 thing. Okay, so great.
No, I got a 1. So personally, I had 3.
4 successes all around. Okay. God damn you using your cursed D&D dice. Okay, so this is what you discover. Rekan, from your perspective, you're seeing that this has no cables running to or from it. This would work completely wirelessly. You would probably gain a guess of, well, if the surface of this thing interacts with my hands, what happens if I just place or attempt to insert technology into this thing here? Banna, from your perspective, you also come to that conclusion rather quickly. And does Rekan then attempt to into the cube-like matter in front?
Yeah, he'll take the ISO linear chip that Banna handed him and just...
So what pops up is the serial number, the ship number that Banna had inserted into the ISO linear chip, done as though you were pulling a text file in the LCAR system. So, gives you... There it is, right there. Simple.
Perfect. Banna would walk over to one of this. Oh, go ahead.
Rekan would reach up and manipulate the file, change some of the numbers, and like put Rekan at the end.
Okay.
Pull it out and hand it back to Banna.
Okay.
Banna would walk over to one of the regular terminals and try to see if he can access this data in any way, because there's no reason for the VIN number of a random Trill junker to be in the Starfleet database.
Correct. So you attempt to do a computer search of a random VIN number, and the computer comes up with...
That information is not on file.
So information's not on file for this random VIN number in Starfleet's database. You've handed the isolinear chip, though, to Banna, though, right, Rekan?
Yep.
What does Banna do with said ISO?
He knows what he needs to know now.
No, check to see if the data's changed on it, Banna.
Oh, good point.
To see if us manipulating the data here affects the data on the device.
Good point. Banna would do. Just for giggles, not with the ship's computer, but with his personal pad.
Okay. Yes, you. And there is the manipulated data.
I would show
Clear
it
as
to Rekan.
day.
That's about as in the cleared we can get. At this point, Banna would set his Rakthagino aside. Anybody care if I take a top bunk?
Whichever bunks you prefer, gentlemen.
Thank you. He would crawl up in the top bunk, kind of get situated so he could sit down and watch, and very quietly slip Toulouse out of his pocket and tuck Toulouse right up behind the pillow.
Great.
Lay a little cookie out and turn his attention back forward.
Great. So now you've determined that information can be manipulated on these terminals, that it is completely localized. What do you do with that?
Tropp is currently catching up on some unread, already was on his pad emails from family. That's
At the
in
terminal,
character
you're
at
just
the terminal. That's
Great.
in character talk for I apologize for not really paying attention. My aunt is asking for family updates on my sister, so I
No,
apologize
it's
for
okay.
not
So
reacting to everything right now.
so what's interesting about these terminals is because Tropp is actually able to pull up data from the computer, because obviously these terminals have to connect to some sort of communications method. It is one way. You have determined that it is one way. Data in, no data out. So you can pull up localized data from the computer on these terminals, but that data does not go outwards to the computers or to any sort of comm array or anything. And oh Jesus. So that means you've discovered that you basically have an isolated small little computer here. Now, Rekan, you were talking about before how you can manipulate data. However, you also wanted to see if this could process data in a way that the ship's computer would, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so what did you want to try and insert on? Did you want to try and insert, like, the tricorder into?
Yeah, right.
Okay, so
the offline tricorder that has
Okay.
every bit of data from Xerxes 4.
Okay,
However, he would pull up to see if there was any information on Section 31 on this.
great. So I want you to roll just to see what kind of information you can come across, how much information you can come across. Now, this is going to be a security for sure. And I'm going to say security in the insight again.
So Rekan's reasoning behind this is this shouldn't be here.
Correct.
We have our commander, but then we also have our bosses.
Correct.
Who would know that we need things that we can't access on the ship or be dealing with data we shouldn't have on said ship.
Correct. So this is going to be a difficulty level of 4 because this is something that you're digging into and you're not necessarily a security officer used to hacking. There is, however, a party member that is used to hacking. Does anyone want to try and throw Toulouse on one of these things?
Well,
does Toulouse start bouncing up and down at the sound of "I need security" and going?
You just start hearing purring from the pillow. Not like purring, but just like little trills.
Wait, Banna, can you pass me Toulouse for a moment?
Pass you Toulouse.
You're muted, Justin.
It's probably for the best because that was a horrible joke.
We need the joke, Justin.
I said Toulouse, or Bono would reach back and grab Toulouse and go, "What is it, girl? Is Timmy down the well?" No, seriously though. Once Toulouse gets excited, yeah, he would absolutely. Okay, did you need a cookie? Then he would pick Toulouse up and wait for Toulouse to make a motion. Unless Rekan just comes and gets Toulouse.
No, Rekan would probably. You're on the top bunk, so Rekan would probably walk up and be like,
"Yeah, I would here."
Yep. Toulouse, can you understand me? Roll left if you can. Roll right if you can't.
Toulouse rolls left.
Whose left was that? That's in character, by the way.
Well, I'm assuming she would be looking at him, so it would be her left.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay,
the right. Toulouse
Can
knows
you
left
see
from
if you
right.
yeah, could you see if you could pull up any information on Section 31 on these terminals?
Get a trill.
Todd's going to walk over and place her on the terminal.
All right. So much like when your hands went over, it kind of encompasses you in a it becomes like a little cup, a little bowl for Toulouse to sit in. And all of a sudden
A
the
little
Elcar,
static.
like, there's a little bit of static, like Toulouse's hair stands on end just a little bit. And up comes a screen of like, hacker, I'm in, but Elcar's looking. Roll me insight and security, Toulouse. Since you're adept at hacking, I'm going to say it's a difficulty level of 3.
Banna, have you ever seen a screen look like that?
Yes, hold on. He would just hop straight off the bunk and come over to help.
Okay, so you're assisting. Got it.
I am.
Same roll, insight and security for you.
Okay. Ooh, not my best.
What's our pot? Do we have anything in our pot to buy from?
We have at least 4.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy one.
Okay.
That's 1 from me.
Okay, so we got 1 so far.
I've got a 3, a 5, and a 15. I had to beat go under the 15.
So 15 meets, which means it is a success, which means we've got, what, 4 successes?
Yep.
Okay, so you
So
critically...
back up to 4.
The Tribble critically succeeds with help from Banna. So Toulouse is on this side, Banna's on this side, and it's just a flurry of hacking Elcars flying through this. Like, how the hell is a Tribble and a Trill doing this? And all of the sudden comes an audio message from who you recognize. The voice you recognize is the head of Starfleet security you talked to when shit went down over at the Kobayashi Maru, and you hear, if you're listening to this audio file, you have clearly found out we have put something here for you. This is your connection to us. Do not mess it up. And you hear static. Also, pulling up text file upon text file, there's a whole bunch of information flying up. You see text is moving so fast, but you can catch a couple of words. You see U.S.S. Discovery. You see burn. You see dilithium. You see Nexus, and it's just a whole bunch of information. However, you now have free access to read this information because you guys critically succeeded.
I'll add that to the list of things we need to read, I guess.
You guys have a lot of reading to do. What they don't tell you about Starfleet, you're actually reading most of the time.
But with the success, Toulouse has started bouncing in the
Oh, yeah.
little bowl and trilling.
Yeah, like...
Banna would just scoop Toulouse up. Offer cookie.
Give her Banna. Give her a bigger cookie.
Actually, I have thoughts about that.
Okay.
Banna would walk over to the replicator again,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of finger tapping,
Of course.
and a platter comes out, rimmed in different kinds of cookie. Basically, everyone he could think of.
Okay.
He sets the platter on the table, puts Toulouse in the middle, and says, "Go in order of which ones you like best."
Okay. On this platter is going to be your standard Earth chocolate chip cookie, like the most perfect chocolate chip cookie a replicator could ever make. Then you have brownies, you have Talaxian brownies, you have Romulan some sort of Romulan-shaped squirgly cookie. It's pastry-like. There's frosting. Then you have a little triangle that looks like it's a little overflowing with some jelly. It's probably Andorian since it's very blue. And then you're just running around and there's just every member of the Federation, like their most famous cookie, is just on this platter. So Toulouse, which one do you grab first?
Toulouse is overwhelmed.
Toulouse is just
You
spinning
see
in
him
circles.
bouncing in circles, like, oh no, I don't know.
It's
If-
12 generations of cookie choices.
If Tribbles had eyes, would just stare at Banna like, is this real? Is this for real?
This is for real. It's okay. And take your time. Don't have to eat all at once. Just, I would like to learn what you like.
No, the favorite would be chocolate chip because that would
Yes.
have been what Bryce had most access to.
Like, love it. Love it. Okay, I need to write this down, though.
Yep.
Toulouse. Choco chip. Okay.
Now we need to find a way that Toulouse can replicate her own cookies, Banna.
Oh, no, don't worry. I have lots of plans. We've had all of 20 minutes on this ship.
I mean,
Right. We're only 25 minutes in, people. Come on.
She is a member of our team after all.
Of course she is. I have a sneaky suspicion that if Toulouse can communicate with that, Bryce probably had a way of talking to Toulouse.
Well,
And he would pull out the little bag and pull out the isolinear chip. This came with the Tribble.
well, I guess we should start with that.
Probably not a bad idea. And Banna would leave Toulouse to the snacks. And he's seen this work once. And he would take the isolinear chip and set it on the not a computer.
Basically, the ice. It's a. Hold on. Let me find a. Do I have a USB drive?
Thumb
I
drive.
don't.
Yeah, thumb drive.
It's a thumb drive.
Basically, what Rekan did was thank you. He plugged it in. Like there are spaces in between these little squares, and he plugged it in between, and it kind of enveloped it a little bit, kind of like it's making the connection to it.
It spawned it.
and and then all of a sudden, boom, a whole bunch of information comes filing up, and you can tell that it's actually personal logs. It is research logs. It is audio logs. It is a whole, basically, the data dump of Bryce. You just plugged in. Everything regarding Toulouse, everything regarding what was going on, what she was researching, what Bryce was researching about Toulouse, and all sorts of other random research in there. And what you notice is that there's actually a little bit of a download bar down at the bottom that quickly reaches 100. And as an engineer would probably realize, the data has been copied to some sort of drive that is held within this this computer terminal unit. So it is accessing and storing all of your information. Not just reading it, but also storing it without you asking it to. Yeah.
Banna would kind of have an oh shit moment. But what's done is done. He would wait for the information to finish loading and then take the drive back, put it right back where it was. And immediately start searching for terms in this data set having to do with communication, talking, anything to do with communication relays, just some way of searching for Toulouse is going to be crazy because Toulouse will probably be in every log. Right now, his concern is how do I talk to the Tribble?
So you hear the terminal itself say
Data transfer complete.
indicating that, the data transfer is complete. You pull it out and you do a search on, speaking, all of those sort of like, how do I speak to this Tribble? And the information comes up relatively easily. There is another bit of mystery technology in that little Toulouse-shaped baggie that is mentioned multiple times, that the trilling that Toulouse does has actually been analyzed. Bryce was able to analyze how the trilling was, and was actually able to physically understand on sort of kind of like a sign language level of what Toulouse meant, based on the type of trills that Toulouse gave. However, was starting to create this piece of technology, but didn't have the technical wherefore to, connect A to B. Bryce understood A. She didn't understand how to get to B mechanically. And you're basically seeing the diagram of the little piece. And it is little. I mean, Toulouse is, about yay big. So if I don't think anyone has actually, ruffled Toulouse to actually feel around the Tribble, but with the little piece that it's showing in the diagram of it, you also see a little, Toulouse with like what would be a little metal thing probably implanted on Toulouse. And you could also see that, going off into further data, you would see that Toulouse came with that. Toulouse has always had that, as far as Bryce has known. So she was trying to interface with that.
Banna, seeing this, would turn to the tray of probably quickly disappearing cookies, and kneel down to be on Toulouse's level. Toulouse, friend, I would like to feel your fur just a little bit, okay? I want to confirm what's over there. If that's okay, trill once for yes, 2 for no.
We have a run trail.
Okay. And Banna would just, as gently as he can, start to reach under the fur until he finds the piece.
And you find it. If you're looking at a Tribble, it's probably close to where temples might be if Toulouse had eyes. And if you were to move the fur a little bit, you'd actually notice a interesting glow. Starfleet officers know a lot about Borg. You would see that it's actually glowing that sickly Borg green. Not necessarily like spidering out as though a Borg implant would, but more that it was probably Borg technology modified by somebody and put onto Toulouse at some point.
Toulouse, same as before. 1 for yes, 2 for no. Can I take my tricorder and make a record of this?
There's a little bit of hesitation, but you get 1 trill.
Okay. So long as you're sure. And Banna would get out his tricorder and make the most detailed record he possibly could of this thing.
Okay. I'm not going to have you roll for it because, Starfleet officers know how to do a detailed scan of something. You notice that this implant connects directly to her, what would be her, cortex of some sort in this trill. That this implant was actually definitely surgically added at one point. And that, yes, it does give off a little bit of the Borg nanoprobe type idea. However, it looks inert. The nanoprobes themselves look inert. The scan also reveals that because of this implant, it has allowed for more active brain scans from Toulouse herself. She's reading at a almost bipedal humanoid level type activity, as opposed to a animal or a pet would. Basically reading as sentient. So that's what you get from that. And yeah, that's what you get from that, unless you're looking for something in specific that I did not mention.
That would be a good place for Banna to start, because he already has ideas.
Understood. Rekan.
Hearing Banna ask Toulouse if he can scan her with the tricorder, Rekan would look at Ben and go, wait. Use this one, and hand him the offline one.
Okay.
Fair.
Perfect. You do that. That is the thing that happens. Good job. So you get all of that information. It is on Rekan's tricorder that has all of the other information about Irmatic Syndrome and Dr. Ship and everything. And you have that scan. What's happening now, friends?
Tropp would turn back around and close out what he had up on his pad and be like, sorry I didn't see what was going on there much. I got the general gist. I didn't know that you could get announcements of engagements from the future, but good for my cousin. So what's going on? My aunt
Toulouse
told
is
me
just-
about an engagement that hasn't taken place yet, and I'm not supposed to know about it.
Jesus.
So,
Toulouse is in a food coma now.
Okay. Probably falling asleep. Like,
We
Hidden
wouldn't
back
be
up
able
under
to
the
tell.
pillow.
have you okay, did Toulouse like hop like after the scan, did Toulouse like hop
Roll.
and kind of fall to the side? I love it.
Just for the record, I suddenly feel a lot less comfortable sharing a bunk with Toulouse.
Look,
We
Banna,
should probably let her have one of the others, because
we will give her one of the lower bunks.
our friend there is not a pet.
Once Toulouse can have the lower bunk, one of the lower bunks, until they put someone else in here, and then we can see where Toulouse is most comfortable.
I mean, I don't know about you, but if I've ever had to share a bunk, it's just whoever decides to share with me. I don't mind.
It's not that I mind, it's that I don't have consent.
That's fair. That's why I wait until they crawl into bed with me.
Fair point.
Also fair.
Very fair point.
There are only 3 beds in this room, considering it was only meant for 3 people. There's the bunk, and then there's actually a separate bed on the other side. So, obviously, Banna's taking the top bunk. Toulouse.
You can make a hammock out of an extra sheet.
It's actually no. I was about to say, realizing what's going on, like all of a sudden, wait, no, there's no place for Toulouse to actually sleep. Banna would first yank his pillow down and set it over in a little space where Toulouse has some privacy. And for now, if you're okay with that, we can definitely make you something better in a little bit.
Okay. That's... Love it.
Triple hammock. That's what I want.
I love this. It is absolutely amazing. So, we've determined that Toulouse is more than what she seems. Like a transformer, so to speak. Sentient being in disguise. And we've learned
Robots roll out.
we've learned that these terminals are definitely Section 31. They have a lot of information on them that you'll have to discover and actually go through. And we're now at only 35 minutes since being on the ship. So, What's next, friends?
Imagine what
Probably
we'll learn in the
passing
next
out.
30.
Probably passing out because we haven't slept since, we crash landed the ship and got into a physical fight and had to rescue somebody and blew everything up and had to take the trip back. We're probably all very, very emotionally tired as well as physically tired.
But also, was everyone's stuff delivered to the quarters that they were
Yes.
assigned to?
So, the thing is obviously Bryce's stuff is not in this room, as Bryce was not assigned to this room. Only the three guys were. So everyone else, Rekan, the floating random box of Starfleet material, came with you as you got off the shuttle.
Yep.
And everyone else's personal effects that they had on the Runabout came with them. But also in this room is 3 large Starfleet standard issue trunks. That is everyone's personal effects that didn't specifically travel with them. However, Bryce is not in this room.
As we're sort of winding down for the evening, unpacking the things we need, Banna would come sit over close to where Toulouse is. Is there anything out of Bryce's effects that's yours or that you would want? One's for yes, 2 for no. You're muted.
No,
Or you
you're
just
not
got quiet,
muted, no.
sorry.
Let's say, wait, I unmuted.
I just couldn't hear you.
No, you would get one kind of low, sad trill.
Okay. I'll do my best as soon as I can, okay?
The triple equivalent of a nod.
Okay.
Just like a little...
Roll forward a little.
Yeah. Banna would crawl back up in bed, grab his pad, and file a requisition.
Okay.
Claiming that some of his stuff must have gotten mixed in with instant win stats, and he would request access.
I'm going to have you roll for me.
Sure.
So for a requisition that's not a real requisition, but attempting to fake out somebody, let me see. That's going to be a reason, because you're probably going to take all of the logical steps of making sure it sounds 100%. And then, according to this system, that would also be security. Which
And here I was hoping for daring.
I'll give it to you for daring. Daring and security.
All right.
It's going to be a success level of 2.
All right. You know what? I'm going to spend a momentum to buy one.
That's fine. We're down to what, 3?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have nothing in my values or talents that would help this. You said I am at a 6, a 9, and a 13.
6 correct, 9 correct, 13
Think it misses.
correct. Wait, if we're doing daring and security, that's a 13 for you, right?
You told him reason and
No, sir.
security.
You told me reason and security.
I said I will give it to you for daring.
Oh, that's right. No, I only have a security of 1, dude.
Yeah, which means daring and security is 13 for you, because you added 1 to daring.
No, I added 1 to engineering.
I thought you added 1 to daring.
Oh, well, crap. Then let me change that.
Because I still have engineering at 4 for you.
Okay, let's back that up.
Because then that would be 3 successes.
Okay, yes. Yes.
I'm
Do it
just
that way
saying.
then.
Okay.
Do it that way then, yes.
Yeah, no, okay, so your daring's at 12, your security's still at 1, your engineering is 4. We're good there. Okay, so 3 successes. You put in the request with ship's operations, the head of operations, and you actually get it's only partway through second shift on the ship at this point, so you actually get a response immediately, and you're told where Bryce's things are, and you have free reign to get them at your leisure.
I knowing that, as soon as I got a response, I would hop down, and ask Toulouse, "Do you want to come with me, or do you want me to bring him here? One for come, two for bring."
You get 1 drill.
Okay.
He would pocket Toulouse, and they would head out.
Okay.
And he would tell, guys, I need to take Toulouse to reclaim some stuff that's theirs. I'll be back in a minute.
Good.
Okay. And the camera pans to what is Rekan and Tropp doing?
So Banna is in the top bunk of. How is the room situated? Are there 2 bunks?
There's a bunk bed, so a top bunk and a lower bunk, and then on the opposite wall is a single bed.
A single bed. Okay.
Yeah.
Tom, do you want the bottom bunk or do you want the bed?
Your choice. It's a bed. I'd already said I would give you both first pick.
Tropp really isn't sure how to think about that. He's used to being in larger groups where by the time everybody who did have an opinion figured out their opinion and got themselves situated, he had, a relatively, limited amount of options that would, make him feel secure and not being imposing. So he would just.
There is a very limited option. Bottom left, bottom right.
All right, I'll take the bottom bunk.
Okay. Banna, top bunk, Tropp, bottom bunk, and then Rekan bed. Okay. Now, knowing Tropp is a denobulan, and therefore doesn't technically need sleep, once you claim the top bunk, get what you need to out of your trunk, what are you doing when you crawl into bed?
I'm in the bottom bunk, but
yeah, what are you doing when you crawl into your bottom bunk bed?
You said the top bunk, so
oopsie, my bad. Sorry.
Yeah, so his bed is usually more of a, like, he sets it up as like a quiet study area. He doesn't need the sheets, so he usually takes the sheets and like tucks them up so that they're, blocking any light.
So with this being a Starfleet bunk, you can think of it like a futon. You can make it a couch if you would like. As opposed to being a completely flat surface, it would be couch if you wanted.
He's used to not having that kind of functionality. He prefers it being a flat surface where he can, spread some things out, have a little bit of a workspace, sit cross-legged, if you make it a couch, then you don't have as much workspace, and you're stuck sitting as you would in a chair, and it's just so boring. So, he'll take the sheets, he'll tuck them up so that they're blocking light, so that Rekan isn't bothered by any, screens or anything during the night. For those of you who may or may not know, denobulans don't sleep or meditate or take any sort of rest during their 24 hours at all until their 1 week of sleeping, where they basically go into hibernation for a week. I'm saving that in my back pocket for any time where I personally can't be in the stream, and I will just say this is, Tropp's week of hibernation.
Yep.
So
Smart.
so he'll be letting you know about that beforehand if possible, but it has happened where it's, snuck up on him, or the change in time ends up that it shifts a little off schedule and he zonks out a week or two ahead of when he was supposed to. Most Starfleet off command knows about that and is informed when they have a denobulant on the ship. So
Yep.
if it happens, just
Yep.
I'll be okay.
Okay, so you go and do that. You actually so the bunk bed is actually up against the wall. There's actually little shelves in the wall where you could put personal effects or whatever you want. And it's not deep. It's probably at most a foot deep. And what you do with your sheets is you actually, on the open end of the bunk bed, you actually tuck it to, the bottom to kind of create like a little wall. And Starfleet bunk beds have the open view forward and back. So you also take your sheets and you kind of make like a little 3, so you're in like a little enclosed, you're in a little fort. You're in a little blanket fort. And you catch up on whatever is on your pads, which is great. Is there anything in specific, or good if we want to move on to Rekan?
I mean, he'd be going through some last minute stuff on, what to expect from the crew, making sure that there's nobody in command who, is of a particular race where there's, a specific greeting that they'll need so that he's not caught off guard, anything like that.
Great. Your bridge crew is the captain, which is just labeled as the captain. You have not gotten any sort of race information yet. You just know Captain Lex. You've got a human, you've got a Trill, and you've got a Klingon, and you've got a Romulan.
Is the Trill joined or not?
Trill is joined. It is actually Lieutenant Commander Dax. They are head of the science for the ship. Then the Klingon is head of security. The human is the top pilot on the ship. The Romulan is the first officer. And obviously you have Lex, the captain. Toulouse? Well, Kayla.
If Tropp knows about the Klingon, you might want to warn Toulouse.
He will make note of that and will at least, mention it to Banna as they come back, because he knows that Toulouse is on Banna at all times. So.
Hopefully they don't run into him on their way to get the stuff.
Womp womp. Okay, what is Rekan doing as Tropp is making a fort for themselves?
After he finishes unpacking and hanging up his clothes and pulling his personal effects out, he's going to look around and see if there's somewhere they can stash this case of miscellaneous objects.
Surprisingly, Starfleet quarters don't have any closets. It's a weird thing of the future where you don't really need closets to store much. However, around the terminals in kind of like the sitting area, you could probably get away with making it look like some sort of ottoman or a, short table of some sort, to where you turn off the floating bit of that Banna put on it.
Like in the sitting area, if there's like something with some cushions on it, you'd probably walk it over there and like drape something over it and put a cushion on top.
You do that, but it is
just to try to like not make it obvious there's a floating Starfleet case in the room.
Tropp would poke his head out and say, if you'd like, you could keep it in here where it's entirely enclosed space.
in the event anyone comes looking for anything, I don't want it to be in one person's possession.
So yeah, you do that. So there is a couch, communal couch, and it's pushed up against the wall, but it's one of those couches that, kind of leans forward, so there's space in between the wall and the in the very bottom of the couch. You could probably it under, right there.
Yep.
Which it's really interesting. Banna made a really, really nice Starfleet case. Banna took the time to make it counteract the grav plating and the inertial dampeners if they were to go offline. He also made it not readable by normal ship internal sensors somehow. However, he did install some tech or used tech that you don't even understand. But you're good. The only time that it really would ever be detected by internal ship sensors is if they did like a super deep, intensive scan of the room itself. You're fairly lucky you got somebody who knows how to hide shit if they need to.
And I know it only opens with a thumbprint.
Contraband.
Right. So what else is Rekan doing after he finds a hiding spot for the Romulan ale?
He would probably go back and sit down at the table with his pad and begin writing up the events that led to the death of Ensign Windstat while it's still fresh. Once that's done, he would get sent off to Commander Simsa because they did expect it first thing in the morning.
Yes. It is probably starting of third-ish shift, maybe middle of third shift. I'm going to say it's probably around 11 p.m. ship time. The ship at this point has already warped away from Xerxes 4. They're well on their way to Deep Space Nine at this point, to where they will finish up the reconstruction of the bar, which you as ensigns, as characters, don't know is still under construction yet. However, as you're writing that up, the camera pans back to Banna, who has reached one of the more Starfleet decks of the ship, as opposed to one of the living quarters. And he does actually walk by the forward bar of the ship. The doors are locked. You cannot open them. However, through the windows that are in the door, you can see that the bar is in disarray. It is clearly still under construction and being remodeled. You were told that this ship obviously just went under a refit. However, something must have went on with the bar that needed extra refit for some odd reason. You see that there are some people that are working in there, soldering up things and, doing the works and everything. But you walk past there, you're on middle decks sort of deal. And you come to a door that says, basically, that's the ship locker. It's where, any sort of personal effects of people who may have passed, or, it's the requisition room sort of deal. Banna?
On his way. Is the Insignia laid out a little bit like other vessels of its class, that the info panels are along the wall?
Correct. So the Insignia may have just been refitted, but if you know anything of the Galaxy-class starships, they're still pretty much set up the same. The color palette has been adjusted to be a more modern gray as opposed to carpeting up the wall. But there still are those info panels that you could touch and ask computer things to direct you or anything. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, he would want to put a small industrial replicator on his path before he gets there.
Okay. Perfect. He he asks the ship, and the ship responds, and basically GPSs him. Ship GPSs him. Right. It's literally what they do. Those panels will literally just arrow towards and brings you to actually on this deck there is an industrial replicator, and industrial replicators are much different from your standard food replicators, and the fact that they take up an entire room, and they can recreate parts for the ship, or do parts in sections. Again, replicators are a lot like 3D printers, in that fact, in which you can requisition any sort of part that you want, given you have the right access level to ask for a part, and you can create anything that you need. So Banna walks into the room. What is Banna doing at the industrial replicator?
He has a list.
Let me write this down.
The first and most simple thing, because he doesn't want to walk back carrying a bunch of random effects from his departed colleague, is simply a set of handbags, so that whatever Toulouse identifies, he can put in a bag and carry without having his arms full walking down a hallway. He doesn't know what he's getting into.
Okay. You create hover bags.
Very good. The rest of his shopping list includes parts to make a second set of repulsors, a small metal bowl, some soldering gear, like just basic engineering stuff that you would expect to find in engineer's quarters, but he wouldn't pack and carry with him. Stuff, basically stuff to make a small workbench.
AKA engineer's pack. Got it. If we were talking D&D, engineer's pack.
Yep, exactly right. The two odd things that would not be in that pack.
Okay.
The smallest quantum timepiece he can get away with.
Okay.
And a Viridian patch.
Viridian patch. Okay. So I'm going to say that obviously there's somebody on duty here at the industrial replicator. It is a third shift officer. It's 11:15ish p.m. ship time, and it's somebody who, luckily for Starfleet vessels, there's someone on duty at all times, and obviously the people who take third shift are often people who are night owls in their life, so they like being on third shift. He looks at you and he doesn't recognize you at all. You're new on the ship. He asks for identification, and you give it to him, obviously. And you're obviously a part of the engineering team. So replicating an engineer's pack when you just got on the ship, commonplace. Small metal bowl. Okay. Odd that you came to an industrial replicator for it, but great. You've got a small metal bowl. I'm guessing it's Toulouse sized.
It is.
I figured. And the repulsor, you input the specs of what you need to create a repulsor, not just a jury-rigged repulsor, but like a proper, repulsor. The guy looks at you and goes, "What are you using for that?"
I'm in the top bunk in ensign's quarters. There's no table, no place to set my pad, no place to set my drink. All I have to do is fit the bowl on the repulsor, and it's floating right by me. I wake up in the middle of the night, I want a drink, I don't have to fall down the frickin' stairs.
He says, "I've been there, dude. I get it. I get it." You see that his rank is lieutenant, so obviously he's been through that before. He's like, "No." And obviously it's another engineering crew member, because of course an engineer would be looking at the industrial replicator. And then engineer's pack. He gets it. He actually suggests a couple of newer items that weren't in your engineer pack that Starfleet recently just came out with the specs for, and gives it and throws it in there for you. And then Viridian patch. What explain to me, what's a Viridian patch? What does it do? What's it for?
A Viridian patch is effectively a tracking device. It contains a small amount of material that can be scanned for and is so thoroughly out of place in most settings that if you go scanning for this, you're going to find it, but it's not a thing that's covered under a standard scan.
Right. Okay. So you're basically creating something that, like, I know I'm going to be looking for this at some point, but a standard scan is not going to pull it up regularly.
Correct.
Okay. So the guy looks at you and he looks at you like, a Viridian patch. What are you?
I brought a pet on board.
I don't want to know. Just take it. And it comes up and you take it off the replicator.
What about the quantum time device?
Oh, the quantum time device. I'm sorry, I forgot to write that down. So quantum time device. Before we go to that, Toulouse, what's going on?
Are you putting a tracking chip in Toulouse?
He's going to offer, but he wants to have the part.
Great. Okay. The quantum time device. So quantum time devices are, they keep time very well. They can be set to any sort of planet's normal time frame. That's the important bit about quantum time devices, is you can set it to Bajor, you can set it to Earth, you can set it to Vulcan, whatever you want to keep, time to. So what style of quantum time device does Banna want to try and replicate? Like, what planet?
It's not keeping time that he's interested in.
Okay.
It's being able to. Okay, so the idea is that this would be not a timepiece he wears on his wrist.
Okay.
But a timepiece used to very delicately sync two electronic systems together or slightly out of phase.
So you're probably looking for something close to ship time, whatever the ship runs on. So,
yes.
Quantum time devices are used between, standard watches, or what Starfleet has in the 24th century is sort of like our modern smartwatch, where it can work as a tricorder in a smaller sense, holographic type screen. So it's a relatively common thing to ask for. So the engineering person at number 70 looks at you and, okay, here you go. To ship time it is, and gives it to you perfectly fine. Is there any other items that you asked to be replicated?
Nope, that's it.
Okay.
For now.
You're given all of these items.
Banna generally personable guy, would take the time to chat with this guy, seeing he's an engineer lieutenant, kind of bullshit with him a little bit.
Okay.
Kind of get a sense of what engineering's like on the ship, who we'll be reporting to, that kind of thing. Just friendly banter.
Okay.
Talk.
Yeah. He reveals to you that he goes by John. He is an Endorian, so John as a name is kind of weird. John the Endorian. I'm gonna have to remember this damn bitch, ain't I?
Yes, you are.
Question. Did we just get Banna banter?
Yes, you got Banna banter. John the Endorian gives you that the chief engineer recently when Captain Lex took over, the chief engineer left the ship, and the chief engineer's position hasn't been properly filled yet. So the head of operations has kind of been taking care of things. However, the engineering department's basically on its own for right now. However, not having a superior to fully report to doesn't necessarily affect ship operations because everyone has their job. They know how to do their job competently, and it's not like, whatever. The previous chief engineer ran a very harsh engineering department, very by the books, very not very flexible in understanding buffer time. However, any good Starfleet engineer understands buffer time completely. And he also reveals that the warp core did get a little bit of an upgrade during the refit. It works a little more efficiently, basically standard warp for a Nebula class starship was somewhere around the 8.5. However, it can now sustain like 9.5 without having to shut off. He also reveals that the engineering department is, pretty lax now that previous chief engineer is gone. So he says it's a nice place to work. And the captain is, she knows a lot, surprisingly.
It's good to hear. Yeah. Don't like to have to fight my superiors for sensible things.
He says, you're definitely not going to be fighting her at all.
No, I imagine.
And he looks up at the time and is like, what are you doing awake?
I like Aractogeno a little late in the afternoon. You'll probably be seeing a lot of me.
Understood. Have a wonderful night, Ensign.
Banna Indari.
Indari.
I am.
Huh. Cool. Did you know that there was a Dax on this ship?
Actually, yes. I was rescued, for lack of a better word, at the call of Commander Dax. We crash landed on the way here and had to be picked up. Dax was the one who let us know.
You're those ensigns. We were wondering why we had stopped by Xerxes 4. It very actually kind of out of the way for where we were going, but
Yeah. Sorry about that. There was a distress call. You do what you do.
Understandable. Have a good night, Indari.
Thanks, Lieutenant. And he would head off toward toward his other destination.
Great. You head off to the other destination. The travel there is relatively boring. It's, third shift on a starship. The lights in the hallways are actually, most people don't know this, the lights in the hallways of a starship during night hours are actually dimmed and yellowed because of the whole, white light versus, soft white sort of idea. And since a lot of humanoid people of Starfleet have suns that are similar to Earth's, they try and take the best, medium and replicate it. So you're kind of walking through relatively dim hallways, but it's nothing, you haven't seen on a starship before. And you come to the requisition room. The requisition room opens and you're met with another third shift officer, and he says, Indari, right?
It's me.
Over here. And they take you over to there's a lot of items. Surprisingly, a lot of items get left behind by people. And the ship just keeps them on hand because, throwing it out into space would be waste, and throwing it through a replicator would be, mean if they ever requested it again. So takes you over to a shelf and pulls the trunk and says, "Here, I was told that you have full access to this. Take it if you want back to your quarters. I don't care. And have a good night." Not very talkative person at all. One of those people who got third shift because they drew the short end of the straw. The short straw.
Yep. Justin, the player's father, was night shift for a couple of years and hated it, so I know the type. Yeah. Banna would look around for just kind of an out of the way place.
Okay.
Pull stuff over, pull Bryce's effects over, and start laying things out.
Mm-hmm.
And then set Toulouse down and, okay, friend, just go bounce on anything you need and I'll make sure you get it.
Toulouse, what do you bounce on?
In Bryce's belongings, you see her physical books that you had seen her with before the Kobayashi Maru.
Mm-hmm.
You will also find pictures of her mom and dad. Little knickknacks from Earth. You'll also find a purple blanket, an old worn sweatshirt, and a box of miscellaneous science bits. Toulouse bounces on the blanket, the sweatshirt, and directs you to the box of bits.
Okay. Banna would gather the indicated items into the bag that doesn't hold all his engineering shit. And Toulouse, do you want the whole box or do you just want something out of it? 1 for the whole box, 2 for something out of it.
1 trill.
Okay. He would just pick up the box, not even opening it. It goes in the bag. Is that everything?
Toulouse takes a look at everything just one more time.
Mm-hmm.
And the triple version of looking up at you.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, I'm good.
Okay. Just making sure. Banna packs everything back up. Lets the requisition officer know, pick stuff up. Actually stops and rearranges the bag so that the box is on bottom and then the shirt and
the
then the
soft
blanket.
things on top.
Yep.
Okay.
And then sets Toulouse on the blanket.
Just snuggles in.
There we go. And he would, stow everything else, pick up the bags, and just on the way out back to his quarters, let the requisition officer know that he was done. Thank him for his time. Sorry to bug you.
And he goes, "Have a good night."
Yep, you too, buddy. And Banna's headed back to his quarters. Would set Toulouse blanket, sweatshirt on pillow, box beside. Good night, friend. Hopefully by tomorrow we can talk. And
soft purring to calm the room to go to bed.
Aww.
Yep, and he would crawl back up in his bunk and just snuggle in.
Great.
Just
Why don't we
just smash the side of the bed if I'm making too much noise. Sorry, I don't sleep.
No problem, Tropp. Have a good night.
Great. Why don't we let's take a 5-10 minutes with that, and we'll come to the next morning. Sound good?
Yep.
Great.
Thanks, friends.
Justin, did you get the same back channel I got?
No, what, huh? From who?
Oh, it's in the group chat.
Better. And now getting to the point where...
So I'm assuming, yes, we both got it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Same.
Banna banter and Toulouse trouble?
No, in the Westlands from Penn.
Oh, I was like, what are you talking about?
So Scott's running a session tonight. Oh. How's your headache, Alex?
Better. It's probably due to the fact that I didn't get to take my meds today, due to a unusual schedule, as well as me not having coffee until later, plus my sleep schedule being thrown off from staying up until 4 in the morning, Wednesday night, watching the counting of the Electoral College votes.
Yeah, my whole week's been just because of staying up. I fell asleep in the chair watching it.
Tyler and I actually stayed up the whole time, and let me tell you, it was worth it. Some of the best. How did he put it? Tyler said it was some of the best reality TV we've ever watched. There was one point where a Republican member of the House was screaming and yelling and trying to get them to redact the Democratic member of the House who had said that the Republicans were lying about the fraud that they were alleging. And he's like, he can't just come in here and say that we're lying without proof. And Pelosi just looked at him and said, you've done that with me every single day, so hold your tongue.
Nice.
It's just like, oh.
Okay. Whew.
Feel better, friend?
Oh, yeah. How's everyone liking this so far?
Good.
Digging it. Absolutely digging it.
Good. Good. I like it.
Less so the message I just got in Discord from the Westlands, but that's okay.
Ooh, that's never fun.
Oh, it's okay. No. It's character stuff. It's not
Yep.
not personal.
Still.
You know, this is nice. I like the Star Trek.
I'm hoping by the next time we play, I'll have my weights. Because then I will be able to do the full denobulin look. Because I already have the latex prosthetics. I've got the forehead, I've got the ear ridges, and the chin. And I have the bald cap that I need in order to wear it, as well as the makeup I need to actually, blend it in and all that. But obviously, once you put on the bald cap, you need hair, so waiting on wigs to come.
Or you could just be clean shaven all over like Mr. Clean.
No.
The problem with denobulins is they have a very high hairline.
Yeah, like up here. Mine hasn't receded that much yet. Hope
I got
it doesn't.
a razor blade.
No, thank you.
No. I don't want to look like I have a receding hairline in my everyday life. Thank you very much.
This is great.
I can go to drink now.
Yes, go.
Oh, which means he responded in the private chat with Ken. Coward.
Yeah, well.
Oh, I can't wait to.
I don't want to hear it from you about me cooing at another character.
Oh, jeez.
It's all you do is coo at characters. Sorry.
I need.
I was going to ask, how's Toulouse doing? How's Kayla doing? Good?
How are the cookies?
I need to stop eating them.
Yes.
My sister actually took some to school with her.
Good.
Can tribbles get diabetes?
We're going to find out.
We'll find out today.
What is that role? A fitness and medicine, maybe?
I would honestly think that tribbles are immune to such things, given that they are designed.
Speaking of cookies.
Yes.
Jeez. I'm glad everyone's liking them.
I hope I don't hurt anybody's feelings, but this is my favorite. It's the Snickerdoodle.
Oh, no, we knew you'd love the Snickerdoodle.
Because reasons.
There's a reason why we included a few extra for you, because we had some left over.
Yeah. God, I can't wait
Also,
to...
Tyler
ahead.
gave you some incorrect information. The chocolate ball cookies were not
yeah.
supposed to be made with rum. The things that were supposed to be made with rum were the marzipan, which were the things in the plastic bag. But I opted not to use alcohol because several people with kids and one pregnant person, and it just didn't
Yeah.
seem like a good idea. So
Yeah. But yes, I'm very excited to see what you guys do with more information.
Well, since we haven't had a chance to read the years of worth of information,
I
I'm
was going to
I'm
say Tropp would start looking through some of that since he's up all night,
Right.
literally.
Let me know what information you did look at, and I'll give you whatever you looked at.
Probably the first thing that he would be looking at is anything that would be able to help him get information over to fix whatever's going on with Dr. Ship.
Great.
Basically, anything that would tell him what they were doing, what they were trying to do, you know, what specific experiments they had been doing leading up to when they first started noticing effects, you know, things like that.
what's that?
Butter cookie.
That can you turn it around so I could that's a butter cookie. You know, the Danish butter cookies. It's basically those.
They were supposed to have sprinkles on them.
Yeah, all the sprinkles fell off.
Okay. Okay. That's fine. I can give that information. Would Tropp have tried to look at data from one of the consoles?
He knew that they had put all of that information that was on the tricorder onto the one console, so yes.
Did Rekan do that? Did Rekan set the tricorder down?
Oh, I thought that was what Banna had done.
No.
Banna had plugged in the Toulouse flash drive, and that's when we saw it was
Okay,
downloading data.
got it. I was confused on that.
There's still a whole conversation that's got to be had regarding that.
Right.
Yeah.
Before Rekan goes to bed, Tropp would ask whether he could look at the data on that tricorder.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Because
Okay.
even though this is offline, it's not offline.
Right.
Right.
Great.
It goes somewhere.
Well, we know it's stored somewhere. We don't know where it stores.
Right.
Which is,
Yeah, you haven't explored where it stores yet. Okay, so everyone has headed to bed. Tropp is up all night because denobulans stay up all night because they don't need to sleep until that week. So Tropp, you were looking through information from Rekan's tricorder.
Yes.
You asked for it, and he gave it to you for you to research. And there's a whole bunch of information coming from it. You're very careful as to not connect it to any one of your pads that might be,
Yes.
connected to the Wi-Fi or anything.
Yes.
You don't go over to the actual console itself during the night because I'm guessing you don't want to wake anyone up with the light that might come through it. But you're
Very
looking...
cognizant.
Yes. So you're looking through everything, and you're discovering that the data includes some information with familiar words that you saw flashing by when Toulouse and Banna got into the console to figure out who this console is from. You're looking at data that you come across data that says the aromatic syndrome, certain proteins that revolve around the syndrome, are being developed to be used against nebulous clouds. So nebulae, external space clouds. Because there is, it mentions the one thing called the Nexus. So, for those unfamiliar with Star Trek, the Nexus is a nebulous cloud that travels through the Milky Way galaxy on a certain path and passes by certain areas within about 40 years of each other. The Nexus is known to basically destroy technology and take humanoid life forms and put them in idyllic situations that is kind of in a half semi-conscious state. Basically, you're in a pure utopia. There's nothing that can go wrong. It is exactly what you want out of your life forever. This is something mentioned in Star Trek Generations. It is how Captain Picard met Captain Kirk. Captain Kirk supposedly died saving the Enterprise B from this Nexus, and the whole nine. What's interesting is that you get the information about how the aromatic syndrome proteins are meant to deconstruct these nebulous gases somehow. The method is not clear at all, other than that is why Section 31 is working with the aromatic syndrome proteins and DNA. Other information comes in the form of kind of bits and pieces. The information comes from, again, there is a U.S.S. Discovery mentioned and also a burn mentioned, but in the data that you have on the tricorder, it isn't explained at all. However, realizing that the console had said something about it, you might get more information from the console regarding those specific search terms. And go ahead. No, go ahead.
Tropp would, before too much time has passed during the night, and probably while Banna is still working on things, because it would be a while before Banna, finished up with everything and got back to the room. He would go over to the console and see if there's a way that he can set it up so that it is basically almost in dark mode. Basically, create as little amount of light as possible, and only directing that light in a particular direction so that he can read it and it's not going to bother anybody else in the room.
So you're basically asking Banna to set up some sort of directional beam lighting with the console, correct?
I would see if I could do it myself with the computer, yes, since Banna's still presumably out.
Okay, great. So give me a roll. It's going to be a difficulty level of 2. And give me a insight and engineering.
Insight and engineering is a 12.
We have 3.
How many? 3. Sure, I'll go ahead and buy one. That is a 10, and a 2.
Okay.
So 3 successes.
You deftly are able, the programming of this operating system that you're dealing with it's LCARS. It's very familiar, but it's much more highly advanced. And because it's highly advanced, it's actually gotten simpler to use. You're able to basically...
Plus I can probably envision it and basically tell it, this is what I want.
That is what makes it easier, is that it pays attention to mental input as well, and modifies itself to be more what you need out of the console than, say, someone else. So you make a dark mode, you make a night mode, and you're able to direct the light in a way that wouldn't disturb anyone trying to sleep. What are you looking for?
I'm going ahead and looking for those particular phrases that I had seen pop up before, uh, that I was then seeing in the uh, the
The tricorder.
tricorder.
Yep.
Yes, that's the
Okay.
word I'm looking for.
Great. The information you basically cross-reference and search. Do you set the tricorder down on the terminal at all?
No,
Okay, just making sure.
I am doing this all manually. So I would look for certain keywords,
Okay.
and then I would basically start out with something. I'm also trying to cover my tracks a little bit because I don't know who might be monitoring this.
Okay.
So I would start by looking for some standard things and then following links that I know would eventually lead me. So, like, I would look at, hey, what does our starship look like? What class is our starship? Look at all the different starship classes, click on the one that I think the USS Discovery would be, find that the USS Discovery is there, go, wait a minute, I recognize that name, and then click on that.
Okay,
Basically, plausible deniability of, rather than just searching USS Discovery, that it's in my search history.
excellent. So this is the kind of pathing that it's leading you on. So you go and you do the whole, starship types. You go with the Nebula class leading into the Galaxy class, and it's kind of bringing you backwards with, kind of important classes. And eventually you get to something called a Crossfield class starship. Technical specs come up, and you're a little bit confused because these types of starships aren't familiar to you. According to when they were initially created, the class was apparently in service around the 2250s, and they look just. It's a science vessel, it mentions, but it doesn't make any sense. It's large. It has 2 rings for the hull section, the saucer section. The neck is elongated. The nacelles are far too long from what you know of standard Starfleet configurations of that time frame. And it brings you to ships known to have the Crossfield class, and the U.S.S. Discovery NCC 1031 comes up. The information given to you is fairly detailed. There's just some missing information. It's literally been redacted out of the file. You could attempt to unredact it, but, it all depends on what you want to do.
I wouldn't for right now, because that might draw suspicion.
I love it. I love it. Thank you.
Not for right now, but
Okay.
he would see first if he can basically determine what information is missing and whether. So that was the first. So first he would try to see what information was missing about it. And then he would basically put that aside and start researching the other main keyword that seemed to be brought up with no explanation, which was the burn.
Great. So you're able to pull up some information on the U.S.S. Discovery, and you get to a section about propulsion. You see that it has a standard warp drive of the time, running on dilithium matrix, and injecting standard.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole section, however, redacted, a whole chunk of data that should be there under propulsion that you can't read. the there is a sister ship called the U.S.S. Glenn, but the information on that ship is even more. It just says there's a sister ship called the U.S.S. Glenn. It does not bring you to any other information. There is also a whole section about time and a red angel and burn. And all of these bits are kind of just points of data in between redacted data. And that's all you can really get out of trying to infer what data is redacted. You're getting key points, but the most redacted data is a under the propulsion section.
He would specifically look to see if there was any record of what happened to the ship.
Are you just looking on this console?
Correct.
That is where you're getting the there is time and there is jump and there is more interspersed redacted data.
Okay, so it doesn't say, ship was destroyed or decommissioned or anything like that.
None of that information.
That being said, the other phrase that he saw that kept popping up that he was interested in is also on this, so he would try to follow that link as far as he could.
So you're looking for burn.
Burn, correct.
Okay.
Specifically from the link on the U.S.S. Discovery, probably because, again, searching for it would lead to some questions, whereas him clicking on it from something he was already searching, somebody might think that it's just an ensign looking for something to do on a night off and getting into the, Star Trek Times equivalent of a Wikipedia rabbit hole.
I mean, that's basically what you're on right now. But when you start to do a roundabout search of the burn regarding cross-referencing Discovery, a little more information is brought in about what happened to Discovery. You see that it was thrown forward in time to a time frame. However, the burn itself brings up information around talking about the mid 30th century. It doesn't give an exact date other than mid 30th century. And it just talks about inert dilithium. And that's all that it is talking about, is that there's inert dilithium, burn, and loss of ships, you see, and Federation reduced is the keywords that you're pulling out of all of this literally black blocked data.
Yeah, I mean, even at the inert dilithium, that would, Tropp would realize that he has a new worst nightmare.
As a Starfleet officer, when you hear inert dilithium, it sends shivers down your spine, because if any dilithium were to suddenly go inert, you know what would happen to a starship if the warp core was on.
Yeah.
So that's all the information that you're getting out of those particular search terms. Are you searching for anything else in this on this terminal?
He would basically search for a particular reason why those specific terms were so at the forefront of all of the data that is on this computer. Basically, this at this point he knows that this computer was put here by Section 31 for the purposes of us to be able to use it. He's looking for any, of all of the data that and everything that we knew about, we have a sensor dish on here. Why this particular data? Out of he knows that there's probably centuries at this point worth of similar level mysteries, time jumps, redacted data, things that haven't been resolved that Section 31 is probably dealing with. Why this?
So you're searching for what you pulls up an interesting factoid. You pull up actually a little bit of information on the console you're working on. It is made out of what's called programmable matter, which that's all the information you really get. Again, the information is sparse at best and redacted. It is, you can get a year. It is from this information was pulled specifically from 3189. So almost 700 years in your future. And these consoles are specifically made from technology from that time. And that's what you get out of further researching.
So essentially, what Tropp would be trying to do at this point is pull up a data map.
Okay.
You've seen it on, various images of people trying to research information in Star Trek with a holographic image. Basically, when they have, from the information that they're at, they'll go back to the spiderweb holographic version of the file explorer and basically just keep zooming out and see basically if there's a cluster section where all of this data starts to really cross-reference each other and see if there's any center point that he can really get to.
So you pull up the data web, and the burn kind of becomes the center point of every sort of data point leading in from, you see that there's data points from your time frame, there's data points from all the way back in the 2200s, there's data points all the way to 3100 to 3089. That's everything is coming to about 3089, the burn. And it is literally labeled now, the burn. And this is where everything is kind of pointing to, including the U.S.S. Insignia on here. And it says U.S.S. Insignia, and there's a little offshoot sensor dish. And this is everything that you have now connected in a data web.
I'll go ahead and click on sensor dish.
You click on sensor dish, and it pulls up the most recent retrofit of your ship. This information is relatively complete. However, the sensor dish itself is housing technology that is meant to disrupt the Nexus. And that's the complete type of information. It is it literally says housing technology meant to disrupt the Nexus. Nothing detailed about it. That is the complete data that you have.
How much would Tropp know as an ensign fresh out of Starfleet about the Nexus?
It is a well-known phenomenon through the through Starfleet and through the Milky Way galaxy. It is known to have been the ending of Captain James T. Kirk. with the Enterprise B taking off the deflector dish of that particular ship. It was going to be installed on Tuesday. It never got around to it. And then also known from the logs of the Enterprise D, in which the saucer section of the ship had to crash on Viridian 3 in order to stop a certain Sarin from using the Nexus as a weapon because he found a way to redirect the travel path of the Nexus due to it flying over Viridian 3. As an ensign, you definitely would have known from the logs of the Enterprise. They're used as teaching of what to expect out there, sort of deal.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Specifically, what he would be wondering is, based on our best knowledge, is every living thing that has come into contact with the Nexus considered alive within the Nexus?
That information is not known. The information from the Enterprise logs are sparse and mostly redacted from what you know of what happened in the Nexus. Personal logs of Picard indicate an idyllic world that is just far too perfect. Everything is just the way that you would want it at that particular time. It is all of your hopes and dreams come true.
Again, he doesn't care about what is in the Nexus. He is caring specifically about whether it is considered that if you come into contact with the Nexus, are you alive within that Nexus, regardless of your surroundings?
Current understanding is no.
That you are, in fact, dead, and your consciousness no longer continues.
Based on the Elurians, Guinan, for those who are unaware from the Star Trek The Next Generation, Whoopi Goldberg, it is... you might as well be considered dead. Upon entering, you might as well be considered dead.
For you or for everyone else?
Yes. For both. You might as well be considered dead.
Basically, the reason why Tropp is trying to figure that out is because if there is any chance that everything that is living, that was conscious, that has come into contact within the Nexus can be considered alive within the Nexus, how many people and their existence would be ended by a disruption of the Nexus?
Understandable. Current understanding that Starfleet has, proper Starfleet has, and that Section 31 has, is you might as well be considered dead. That is the current understanding. Whether or not that's true is not known yet. When you do pull up some information on the Nexus via this console, though, it passes by another nebula. It passes eerily close, as far as Section 31's information shows you, to another nebula that just says dilithium during the year 3189.
At this point, I think Banna would have come back. It's been long
It's-
enough of.
It's been a while. You went down the Star Trek Wikipedia rabbit hole of the century.
Yeah. When Banna comes back in, the main thing that Tropp would first say to Banna is, just as an FYI, our chief security officer is a Klingon. They want to inform Toulouse and make a way to let her know whenever he or she, I don't know yet, is about.
We passed in the hall. I didn't recognize that person as being bridge crew, but no. And this is when Bono would do the thing with the blanket and setting Toulouse down, and I'm sure you heard that, but just watch out for the Klingon, okay?
Also, you are probably understandably tired.
Just a little
However,
bit.
I will not bother you with anything right now, but I will let you know that our mission may have implications far, far beyond the scope of anything we could have ascertained or guessed, even considering Section 31 standards.
Tropp, I've known you for 3.5 years now.
Yes.
Is this worth me having another Ractogeno over, or can this wait till the morning?
Given my abilities to unredact information and the fact that yours are probably impaired by your need for sleep, it can wait till the morning.
Okay, if you're
The
sure.
3100s aren't getting here any faster.
At which point Rekan would turn around and go, the 3100s?
We've got about a century. We've got about a millennium. Get some sleep.
Yeah, I'm going to need it.
Tropp, Banna, please make sure your reports are ready by 0800 to present to Commander.
It was 1600.
Or 1600, Samantha.
Will do.
Reminder that 1600 is by 4 p.m. So
Yep.
go with that.
Yep. Bono would crawl up in his bunk and basically pull out his pad and start typing until he falls asleep and it falls on his chest.
Tropp would take a moment to step away from the Wikipedia rabbit hole to write that up to give his mind a little bit of a breather from the implications that he can guess from what he just read.
Rekan would do one last thing before he went to bed.
What's
Because we
that?
know we put information on one of these future terminals, and there's 2 of them. He would go to the second future terminal and try to pull up the junker number that Banna gave me.
It's there. They talk to each other.
Intriguing.
And then you go back to bed?
No, Rekan hadn't gone to bed. He had been sitting at the table writing his report.
Okay, so you hadn't paid attention to anything that was going on behind you.
No. And
Okay.
unless Tropp pointed something out to him, Rekan was...
Tropp would be leaving Rekan to the report, not so much out of not wanting to share, but in a, I understand that your thing that needs to get done is sooner than, what we're going to have to do. So
Okay.
the only reason he mentioned it to Banna is because he's probably going to need some computer assistance.
Okay. So everyone goes to their respective places. Banna's asleep. Toulouse probably has curled up to the familiar scent of Bryce in the blanket and the hoodie.
Oh,
Rekan is finishing up and then probably goes into a meditative state. And Tropp works on his report. Next morning rolls around. It's about, at this point, 0800 hours ship time. So everyone's had about 8 hours-ish of sleep, if you do sleep. And it's morning time. You guys don't really have anything to do until about 1600 hours, where you have to turn in your reports. If you've already turned in your reports via, the interwebs, then you're fine. However, you will be talking to Simeza in about, let's see, we've got 6-ish hours. So you've
I
got
got more than that. If
8,
it's
9,
0800, we've got 4 hours until noon, and then we've got another 4 hours until 1600. So we've got 8 hours.
8 hours. Okay, so thank you for mathing for me. So 800 hours.
8 hours.
I figure at this point we've all been together long enough that if Tropp hadn't already made himself breakfast when Rekan racks out, he would go over there and pull up, whatever Banna normally eats, what he normally eats, and what Tropp normally eats.
Oh, Tropp would probably have been, he probably would have set himself a small, buzzer timer to remind him about a couple hours before everybody wakes up, and would have used the replicator to replicate some ingredients and a small, little cooking table to cook everybody some breakfast.
Yep, does that. So what is Rakan's preferred breakfast?
He'd probably eat traditional Vulcan breakfast. I mean, from or at least what he thinks that would be, which, his parents out there in the colonies, it would be some kind of grain. So, like bread, a little bit of meat, vegetables.
Okay.
So,
I'm
Okay.
actually looking up what traditional Vulcan food is.
And Banna, what affects Banna's breakfast in the morning? Did Banna's breakfast stay, or did one of the previous hosts' breakfast take over as the normal breakfast? Muted.
Actually, neither.
Oh.
Banna on Trill, when he was at home, basically spent his free time hot rodding things. And so during his time at Starfleet Academy, he fell in with, for lack of a better word, space rednecks.
Ah.
So,
Because he went and found the people who would be hot rodding shit, and let's be real.
I like it.
Yeah. So I mean, he's full on coon-ass fry up. It's andouille and eggs and grits, and
Yeah.
if he's feeling really weird, biscuits with chocolate gravy. But
Okay.
it's not that kind of morning. It's not that kind of morning.
Okay. Great.
quick correction. Rakan, it would basically look like a lemon or blueberry tart and a fruit similar, a Herat juice.
Okay.
oh, I was gonna put it in the chat of what I found for traditional Vulcan breakfast dishes. Apparently, Krayla is a Vulcan breakfast biscuit, and Kerma is strawberry toast.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what's on this list too.
Okay. Great. So that is made for Tropp makes that because obviously Tropp has spent enough, mornings and nights with you two that Tropp would know what would be the preferred breakfast, if any.
For Toulouse, he'd probably just make like some tiny little fry cakes with
Yeah.
with like a little slice of fruit in there.
Ooh,
Just
that'd be nice. So you make that. You have breakfast. Do you discuss anything over breakfast? Tropp, do you talk about what you found over breakfast as opposed to waiting?
I'm sure that both Banna and Rekan are going to be immediately asking because me mentioning the 3100s is probably setting off some curiosity bells.
Great. So Tropp relays all of last night's information, including how much information is redacted on those consoles and what year those consoles came from.
Toulouse, Banna, do y'all think y'all could read that information up for us?
Yeah, hold on.
I also find it rather ironic that they send us out here on these missions, provide us the access to this information, but then redact it from us.
My guess is that in standard, non-hacker, well, actually, let me amend that statement. They know us, sort of. They know our talents. So either they were looking to see how well we apply our talents elsewhere before giving us that information, or they set it up in such a way that us getting the information is in and of itself us proving, at least in part, what our abilities are. Either way, the information would not have been provided to us if we were not meant to eventually get it. And therefore, I don't think they can really expect anything else but for us to try to get as much information about why we are here and what we are working towards as possible.
I'm also curious if anyone outside of this room can access these terminals, but I don't want to risk testing that.
No.
Okay,
Me either.
so Rekan has asked Banna and Toulouse to try and get their hacking skills up for the task. Is this a thing that's going to happen?
Get your hack on.
Yeah,
Get your hack on.
Banna would down the last of his Raktajino, shove a piece of Andu in his mouth. What do you say, Toulouse? You up for this?
Bunch of little excited trills. Let's go.
He would scoop her up, and second verse same as the first, right on top of the key, right on top of the console, and all right, let's do this thing.
Before you carry off Toulouse. Toulouse, yes or no on the pancakes? 1 trill for yes, 2 trills for no.
One big ass trill.
Good to know. Don't really know what triples eat. That was a first for me.
Great.
We're all learning together, friends.
So this is going to be a roll. I'm going to ask each player to roll separately, both with 2 successes necessary for both of you. Toulouse, you're going to be rolling reason and security. Banna, you're going to be rolling reason and engineering. So 2 successes for that. We do have 2 momentum if you would like to use them.
Okay.
You have 3.
Oh, 3.
I got
Sorry.
3 successes when I
That's
bought
right.
one.
Thank you.
I'm gonna buy one.
Okay.
I'm gonna use one.
Great.
I have new face dice.
Oh.
That's a 20, a 19, and an 18.
7 and a 7 here.
7 and a 7. Okay.
Toulouse falls off the table.
Get too excited and just bounce out.
Toulouse had a little too many fry cakes this morning, and basically falls off the table and is literally no help. So, Banna, however, you are able to pull up some connector info, mostly about the U.S.S. Discovery. Um, I will definitely allow for you to try again. However, this is the information you pull up first. The U.S.S. Discovery was a 23rd century Crossfields class starship. It was initially under the command of Captain Gabriel Lorca, and later by a Christopher Pike. Surprisingly, you would recognize the name, as he was one of the original captains of the Enterprise. However, Discovery had an experimental drive on it. The drive was called a spore drive. It could go anywhere in the known galaxy along something called the mycelium network instantaneously. However, due to it literally gives you all of the information regarding the spore drive and how it runs on the mycelium network. It requires, tardigrade DNA, the whole, literally, Discovery is now unredacted, including the entire crew of the ship, including the file parameters that Starfleet had set back in 2258, indicating that Discovery was destroyed in the Klingon War. Okay, that's fine. We'll make sure that Toulouse disappears, if necessary. Sorry,
Wait
chat.
a second if we pull.
Oh, sorry.
The basically all information about the U.S.S. Discovery is ask me any question, I can give it to you. The spore drive, how it runs, and the fact that it had traveled forward in time due to a red angel and something called control. Yes, Rekan.
This Abe question, does it explain what a red angel is? What the fuck is a red angel?
Red angel is described as a Michael Burnham's mother, setting points throughout time, throughout space for Discovery to go to basically gain the ability to grab the Red Angel suit in order to stop something called control, and something from control for grabbing something called sphere data. That's literally, there's no connections to this data. This is just the data that has been presented.
So if you click on control and you click on sphere data, it takes you nowhere.
If you click on control, it is marked as a Section 31 experiment. If you click on sphere data, there's nothing. It just says sphere data. Would people like to try, because Toulouse was unable and a little bit in a food coma, try again?
See. All right.
Banna would pick Toulouse up off the floor, and after sort of unruffling her, okay, 1 trill for console, 2 trills for your bed.
Can it be 3 trills for just put me in your pocket?
Sure. You give him 3 and he'll go, yeah, all right. And then she goes.
Rekan would probably try
Okay.
to see what he could come up with.
Perfect.
Tropp would probably help.
Okay. Great. Rekan, give me... Why don't you, Banna, are you going to try again?
I would at this point, I mean, yes, I'm going to redact as much as I can.
Okay.
do we want to do this me working and Rekan helping, or are we just doing two separate roles?
You working and Rekan and Tropp helping. So I'm gonna give it a difficulty level of 3 since Toulouse is not helping you. So, however, Rekan and Tropp, you're only going to be rolling 1 dice. Banna, you're going to be rolling the insight and engineering. We're going to do Rekan doing control and command, because it's kind of taking a command role. And Tropp, I'm going to give you a reason and engineering, because you've worked with the data before, logical pathing, that sort of deal.
How much momentum are we sitting on?
2.
I just rolled a nat 1.
Okay.
Oh, well, screw it. Never mind.
Understood. We've already got 3.
Hold on. One cockeyed. Let me do it again.
Okay.
That is an 8 and a 13. You said insight and
engineering.
So that's 1 from me.
Okay.
So total of
4.
So we're good.
That's great. All information is now unredacted. And what you get out of the information is you find out that sometime in the 3000s, a cataclysmic galaxy-wide event happens called the Burn. The Burn is all dilithium went inert, seemingly at the same time, causing any active warp core to go into instant meltdown and explode, causing the Federation to lose its foothold across the galaxy at the time, reducing the Federation to a mere 39 member planets out of the hundreds that it is currently, and presumably even more in the 3000s. Section 31 believes that it was the Nexus that caused the burn, colliding with a nebula that houses a full-on dilithium planet. Due to the nebula is called the Verubin Nebula. The connection is the Nexus flies very close to the Verubin Nebula, according to star charts and data from the 3100s, and they think it may have collided and somehow caused the burn to happen due to the Nexus interacting with a full dilithium planet. And that is the information that you have. The information regarding the Insignia and the sensor dish, the sensor dish houses Iconian technology mixed with technology to help spread the proteins of the Irematic syndrome, and the mission of the Insignia is to get the sensor dish into the Nexus to destroy the Nexus now in the Gamma Quadrant where it is, to hopefully prevent the burn from happening in the 3000s.
It is at this point that Tropp would voice his concern that, according to the data that we have, all data that we have, it says that anything that enters the Nexus might as well be dead. However, might as well be dead is not the same as actually dead. And we also have records from Captain Picard's personal logs that at least one individual who was taken into the Nexus is still able to communicate with people who were not, which calls into question the idea that they might as well be dead. Do we have any information as to an estimate of how many known individuals have been lost to the Nexus at this point in time?
Does somebody want to actually check the consoles that are connected to the ship?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Banna would just go check.
Okay. What information are you checking for with against cross-referencing?
Starting with a basic query for the Nexus.
Okay.
Actually, the first thing Banna would do would be pull up astronomical charts,
Okay.
where the hell the thing is. And Gamma Quadrant's big. How
Mhm.
long do we have to figure this crap out? You don't have to answer that right now. Banna is going to figure that out. You can tell me later.
Okay.
Yeah, he's going to figure out where it is. Zoom in, enhance, pull out. You know, it's data in the astronomical observatory, right? We pull out the thing, circle, point, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's specifically looking for how long have we known about this thing? How many cultures do we know that it's come in contact with? How many and estimate known individuals in it, and then work backward along its path toward any planets we know or expect might have been inhabited.
So this is all ready information to any Starfleet
Sure.
officer that wishes to search. So I'm not going to have you roll for it.
Okay.
The Nexus is somewhere deep in the Gamma Quadrant. However, within a few months at high warp from the exit of the Bajoran wormhole in the exit that it comes out of in the Gamma Quadrant. If you were to cross-reference your current ship's projected flight path, you're to come within contact, you're to come not that far away from it within a month or two. Your flight plan looks as though it was carefully crafted to intercept. It's almost obvious. It's eerily obvious. However, information that the Federation and Starfleet has on the Nexus is they have basically evacuated any planets that may come into contact with its flight path over the last 100 or so years when we first discovered it. And upon recommendation of the crew of the U.S.S. Enterprise D, to basically give it free clearance to travel the path. Estimated life forms are unknown, as it has traveled all throughout the Milky Way galaxy, all quadrants, deep into the Delta Quadrant, so you would have no idea how many life forms have potentially been affected by the Nexus. And cross-referencing its path with the information that you know from your future console, yes, it is projected to hit where the future console said the Verubin Nebula is around the right time frame. However, there is a margin of error. It is not 100% certain, but it is within a margin of error that you could only guess Section 31 would be willing to mess with.
Because Banna is Banna, and he does have a focus in astrophysics,
Correct.
he would take where it's known, where it's been, where we think it's going to end up within a reasonable amount of time, and map every inhabited planet between here and there, looking specifically for Federation worlds.
Federation worlds have if they were a Federation world, they removed the people off of the world.
Sure. I mean, not to put too fine a point on it. He's looking to see how long before this thing hits Trill or Earth.
It doesn't come into contact with Trill or Earth. Its known flight path doesn't come into any sort of major worlds except for Viridian 3, which does have a pre-warp society. However, generally, when the Nexus interacts with a planet, it only interacts with the upper atmosphere. And generally does not affect anything. However, the Federation has basically taken the stance of complete avoidance of the thing because of the problems that it has caused before. In fact, ship flight plans you can see are often changed. They're rerouted. They go up and around, and the complete avoidance. Let it do its thing. We can't do anything about it. Section 31, however, wants to do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
In regards to the statement of they might as well be dead,
Mm-hmm.
was any reason given as to why that determination was made?
If you were to look back in some Starfleet archives of archival footage of the Guinan on the U.S.S. Enterprise D, you can actually pull up a little scene of Guinan talking to Captain Picard about the Nexus. She actually does use the phrase, might as well be dead. And in reference to the fact that you're given everything that you have ever wanted. Why would you ever want to leave? So you might as well be dead.
However, I also have everything I would ever want on this starship. You would not say that I am dead. He is basically looking for any reason of, have people from Beta Z been near it and not detected any life forms? Have anybody with that kind of ability stated that there is no conscious beings within the Nexus? When interacting with what appeared to be Captain Kirk, was there something that indicated that he was not himself and that it was simply a facsimile? Is there any actual solid evidence other than you won't ever want to leave that says that these people are dead?
I'm going to say that these particular logs are not normally accessible by Starfleet ensigns, simply because they're information that isn't regularly looked upon. The computer would even go every time you tried to pull up something regarding life and the Nexus.
That information is classified.
And every time you tried to pull something up, it would indicate that it's classified. The proper Starfleet term for redacted. So the log, if you're looking for any information or general information, you're going to be looking for logs from the Enterprise D in particular. And you'd have to look for these logs via the ship's computers that are connected to the ship itself. And in which you would have to be going through both hiding what you're searching for from the security of the ship and also tricking Memory Alpha into giving you said information. And since you're well within Federation space right now, contacting Memory Alpha is still instant, so no worries there. Toulouse.
Keep saying redacted. I'm gonna start making it into a drinking game, and we're all gonna get just
Schwasted.
toasted.
Schwasted. Swifty.
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 Tropp he's not going to pursue it right now, but he is going to say to everyone there, I understand the implications of the mission, and I understand that something will need to be done eventually if they think that this will prevent a future disaster. However, we literally have over a millennium to potentially solve this problem. And I personally cannot in good conscience, will not in good conscience, be able to enact something if it could potentially mean ending the existence of an untold number of conscious beings. I am going to devote most of my time from here to determining whether or not these people are indeed conscious within the Nexus, and I would request your help with that. If the answer is no, they are not, then obviously we can proceed as normal. If they are, then I hope that you would join me in seeking either a way to alternatively complete the mission, or a way of proving that the consequences would be too great.
A wise Vulcan once said, Tropp, the needs of the many outweigh the few. Anything that's been trapped in the Nexus since we first recorded it, probably long gone. Starfleet has been doing its best to keep living beings out of its past since we gained knowledge of what it could do in the Enterprise D.
You're not wrong, Rekan. But we're staring at information from several hundred years in the future.
No. And we are in a position where we don't know if Section 31 is playing the role of the hero or the villain.
What if there's something or someone in that nexus that they don't want found? This could have absolutely nothing to do with stopping this burn, and everything to do with saving their skins.
I do find it highly suspect that we have so much solid information sent back to us by Discovery about all of what happened with the burn, as well as the fact that the planet is even there, and yet they do not include information as to whether or not it was determined that this was even the cause.
To correct some information, this information does not look like it was sent back from Discovery. It is just information on the ship, as they are directly involved in some way.
Let's be real. Even given current levels of technology, in the amount of time between now and when this event happens, Section 31 could mine the entire planet. Why go this route?
Or, barring that, we know that somebody had already found a way to redirect the Nexus and lead it towards somewhere in particular. Why not go that route? Why specifically seek to destroy it? Especially if we know that we don't know how long it can store information, even if information is all that it is storing, even if it is simply taking the information of a person's previous existence and storing it, and using that to create an image of them. That's still an untold amount of data that it's storing, and we don't know how long it can store it for. If it is, in fact, saving everybody and creating a perfect world for them, even in such a manner as saving your consciousness to a physical device, which at this point we would know is possible, and creating a world for them to live in, we know that that still counts as consciousness. Asking us to wipe a hard drive that still has something that is able to continue receiving stimuli and still able to communicate. To me, yes, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. However, we only know of the Nexus's existence from the point where it was first contacted by Captain Kirk. How long it's been in existence is still unknown, and how many people it has taken, even just from upper atmospheres of planets, is also unknown. I'm sure every planet has their tales from the first days of air flight into the upper atmospheres of planets, of people suddenly going missing. And how many of those people could it have been attributed to? Again, if we can get solid data that says that these people are no longer in existence, and that they are in fact dead, then we will have our answer, and as long as we still think it pertinent, then... However, the needs of the many are the needs of the many in enough time for us to think of a new solution. This is not an emergency.
The bigger concern is if they are planning on using the proteins that surround the aromatic syndrome to disrupt this, there is a large enough sample on this ship to potentially infect an entire planet.
Correct. I also find it suspect that if they know, I mean, this is a cloud that we're talking about. We're talking about a cloud that is moving through space. Clouds, even from what we know are clouds, are usually made of larger solid elements that, even if they do have some sort of life to them, are simply... Go ahead.
Toulouse is napping in Banna's pocket.
Okay.
Pretty much out
Breakfast knocked her out.
completely. Yeah. No more pancakes for the tribble.
Okay.
I'm gonna go get ready.
Half as many pancakes
Okay.
for the tribble.
Maybe like the little silver dollar pancakes, but like one.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
I'm gonna go get ready for Smutty Saturday because while I look decent, I don't look smut ready.
Understood. Have fun.
I
Have
love
fun.
all of you. I've
Love
got so
you.
many notes to actually put into like English and not tribble scribble.
Tribble
Scribble
scribble.
scribble.
Ah,
Love it.
love
So
it.
I love all of you. If you want to come hang out and smut afterwards, we're doing monster smut.
Oh dear.
Nice.
I will be with Derek, who did the recent audio bits. We have not deactivated those.
Oh. Oh dear.
So
Good luck.
Pray for me. Pray for LD. Pray
Yes.
for LD because she's got both just Derek and I.
No,
Yes.
So I love all
no
of you
prayers
dearly.
for any of you.
Love you.
Love you,
Bye.
bye.
Fill me in.
I
Will
will.
do.
Yes, will do.
Love ya.
Bye.
Um. So, Tropp, you're explaining how you're not sure if the Nexus. It's weird that Irematic syndrome, the proteins, are being used to destroy a cloud.
Correct. Proteins interact with full living cells to do things, not larger base elements or general floating bits that don't have an organic structure. We've got a few months, obviously, to figure out all of these questions, but the fact that we were told that we have a sensor array that we are going to be testing almost seems purposefully misleading as far as what our actual mission is.
Doesn't sound much like a sensor array to me. Sounds like a bomb.
Sounds like a bioweapon.
So,
Unless. Hold that thought. Banna would try to pull up the records on the sensor dish again.
okay.
Not looking for its purpose,
Okay.
but looking for its design.
Technical schematics.
Anything he can get at all.
Since you're an engineering ensign, you can pull up the technical master systems display of the entire ship anywhere you need. And you pull it up, and the sensor dish is 100% normal looking, as though you would see on any sort of Insignia class starship. You're looking at surface level things.
I start trying to dig. Specifically toward emitters. I want to see what would ping out. Oh, we have a Rekan question.
Seeing what Banna's pulling up, Rekan's going to walk to the offline terminals
Okay.
and pull up the same thing.
Yep, let's cross-reference and see if they match.
So, as you're pulling up the master systems display of the Insignia on the official TM computer, Rekan is pulling up the information of the Insignia on the Section 31 from the future console, and anyone in Starfleet can see that what Banna's looking at is surface level, what people are meant to see. What Rekan is looking at is the sensor array has been installed with 2 torpedo launchers, fore and aft, which is fairly common on the triangle-shaped dishes that are on Nebula class starships. However, on the round one, not typically normal. However, they are torpedo launchers. They're definitely torpedo launchers, and Banna, you see them as well. However, you see them as normal photon and quantum torpedo launchers. Meanwhile, Rekan sees that the launchers can house special torpedoes meant for biomatter, which is not normal. Also, you can see that there are 2 phaser strips added on top of the sensor dish. Again, not normal, even for the weapons platform version of the Nebula. However, there are 2 sensor strips that, if you look, Banna, on yours, they look like standard Type 10 phaser strips as any, Nebula class starship would have. However, Rekan's schematic sees that they can actually open up for some odd reason. They can, like, the normally sensor strips are just like a solid piece of metal, attached to the hull. However, these have little can open up. Rekan's system also sees explosive bolts for the sensor dish at the key touch points on the roll bar. Banna, you do not see those explosive bolts. There is definitely engineering beneath the surface level of what the ship sees.
Okay, so seeing all of that, Banna is going to leave the standard console and walk over to the programmable matter console next to Rekan. Say, do me a favor, get in as close as you can to the schematics on those photon torpedo launchers. I want to check something.
Zoom and enhance.
Yep. And on the other terminal, Banna starts to query Project Genesis.
Normally, if you were to look for Project Genesis on any normal Starfleet console, you'd be hitting a whole bunch of classified walls. And I mean a whole bunch of classified walls. However, here on your Section 31 terminal, you're pulling up all of the data on Project Genesis. Project Genesis, for those who are unaware, was a terraforming project done in the 2300s. It was meant to take a completely dead planet and make it a live one in an incredibly minuscule amount of time, weeks, months even, when terraforming at the time took much longer. So with that, you would know that Project Genesis was a failed terraforming mission if, you were looking at standard logs. However, looking deeper into the non-classified logs, it was completely and utterly successful to the point of being able to destroy any sort of living matter that may have been on a dead planet and replace it with what had been inserted by the torpedo of the Genesis torpedo. In fact, so powerful, it could bring a dead body back to life.
Do these torpedo launchers bear any resemblance
The
to...
The technology is there. However, it has been supplemented by Iconian technology to be more effective.
Rekan? Look at this. I think we have a problem. Somebody didn't learn their lesson the first time.
So I need you to clarify something for me, Tyler. The proteins that surround the Ermatic syndrome, are those regenerative proteins, or are they...
They are degenerative proteins. This is why you were seeing regressed individuals. Logically, if you could come up with a Project Genesis and, regenerate something, you would know how to reverse the process.
Well, we don't need to reverse the process. We've got it here. They're going to use... He's going to look at Banna and go, with what the documents say about the use of the Ermatic syndrome on the Nexus. Genesis was the beginning. I would refer to what we are supposed to be doing as Project Omega. This will be the end if this is successful.
Before you as you're finishing that thought, the computer terminal behind you guys, the actual ship's computer, glitches a little bit and then says,
implementing the Omega Directive. All other priorities have been rescinded.
it glitches at the very end where it says all priorities have been rescinded, and the terminal actually fries out. There's no warnings, there's no anything. However, as you're looking back at the data, I'm guessing being distracted by the computer thinking you were talking about the Omega particle, you also look back and you see that within these torpedoes on Rekan's screen, there are 2 torpedoes currently housed within the sensor dish that house an Omega particle each. And
But go check the terminal down the hall. Make sure it didn't burn out.
Yep. Banna detaches and starts checking other ship systems along the way to make sure that whatever just happened isn't about to fry the whole damn ship.
You notice the ship is fine. Every time you try to access the system, it's fine. It looks like the terminal within your own quarters had somehow thought you were talking about something, or it had seen something, and a recursive system within the ship's own computer memory banks ended that. Ending its own computer systems. The computer shut itself off and destroyed the terminal itself. So as you're looking at things from an engineering and programming standpoint, the computer heard something that it's automatically programmed to react to without any input from anyone, and then instead decided to destroy the input portion so that way it wouldn't get any further to the computer core to activate other systems.
Suggest we use a different phrase.
You are not wrong.
As
Oh.
we all
Can you
know
fix
what
that?
that word
So
will entail.
Fix that, Banna.
I'll do my best. I do still have a report to write.
So
He just drops to the floor, opens the panel, and starts yanking out fried bits.
I would suggest erasing about the last 30 seconds of the data just to make sure it doesn't end up in ours.
He pulls out a whole bank of chips and holds it up, and it's just charred along one edge. You're not going to have to worry about the last 6 months.
right.
Good thing we got backups.
So to tell the audience what the Omega particle is. So in the Star Trek universe, there was once a program to create a torpedo with an Omega particle. Think of it as the 24th century version of an atomic bomb. It is the end-all be-all. If a torpedo is made with one of these Omega particles that gets split, it not only damages all matter around it, it damages antimatter and subspace. It is a particle that no one is touching. Even the Romulans won't even touch. It is bad news bears. And the
As a reminder, Romulans run their ships on red matter, which they then deliberately inject and make a mini black hole to power their ships.
Correct. So they won't even touch the particle with a 10-foot pole. It is Starfleet protocol. Whenever indication of a Omega particle is indicated, the ship is actually always searching for something to that effect. And as you heard the ship's computer say, all other priorities get rescinded immediately. The ship basically goes into, we must destroy whatever has the Omega particle. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. You have no choice. So the fact that the computer has recursively shut itself off from doing that is bad.
Rekan would look at the 2 members there, and knowing Toulouse is in Banna's pocket, would go, I believe from now on we will refer to that as Ragnarok.
That sounds fitting.
Because history would refer to that as the end in mythology, which I'm sure we would all have read.
I believe that further cements my feelings of mistrust and hesitation to complete the mission that we were given as planned.
As good Starfleet officers would know, this seems like overkill.
Major overkill.
So, given that given that information and given everything that's going on, as Banna is rewiring now the console, how are you going to redo this console that is technically connected to the ship? What does Banna want to do to tinker with it?
At the moment, he just wants to bring it back online.
Okay.
Before anyone catches us.
Mm-hmm.
He's pulling out burned parts, cataloging. He already knows where the nearest industrial replicator is.
Would we need an industrial replicator, or does a standard replicator that we have the ability to make things like that?
Now, generally, a food replicator in quarters is generally replicating just food. You can override the preferences of that. However, how a starship works is, you have your food replicators, your industrial replicators, and you still have to go to the industrial replicators unless you're somewhere in like engineering, which would have a, small parts replicator plus a food replicator for, breaks and stuff. In a quarters, all you have is your food replicator, but technically all replicators work exactly the same. So,
it's probably better not to have to requisition this crap. Banna would make notes, and then, even if he has to like reassemble panels with bolts or solder them together, it's going to be easier to hotwire the damn replicator. It shouldn't be that hard.
No,
I can assist you since I've used it for food, so I know how it works.
Banna's an engineering major. Rewiring a replicator is pretty standard business. Feel free to roll if you want to gain any momentum for some odd reason.
Okay.
But,
what am I rolling against?
Engineering and I'm going to do engineering and control because it's somewhat precise work.
Yeah, that's a 7 and a 14, so 2.
Oh, you're fine.
One meets.
So, you're great. You do
it's
that.
One of those fancy ones.
All you now have to do is just ask the replicator to replicate whatever you need, and it will replicate it, whether it's food or whether it's parts. However, you are restricted to the size of a food replicator, so yay big to yay big.
Yep. Yeah. So things like if any of the housings that the isolinear chips comes in housings and you have to yank them out. If any of those got damaged, he'd have to replicate those in sections and connect. But yeah.
You piecemeal it back together. It's not difficult. The terminal comes back online, and if you were to check, yes, it is connected to the internal systems as well. And it's like, the outside, the outside is I need a quick job done. It doesn't look, it's not Starfleet pretty, but it gets the job done. But it works.
So Banna at this point, he's got the thing hotwired. He looks back at his console over there. He looks at the 2 Section 31 consoles, back at the replicator, walks over to the consoles from Section 31 and starts pulling up information about programmable matter.
Oh my.
Shit. Breaking the temporal prime directive, my fucking god.
You did that by giving us the damn computers.
And the replicator.
I have a private
So-
replicator. Why
The
the
re-
fuck are you trying to do
The
this?
replicator doesn't violate the temporal prime directive.
So
The computers do, because they are matter that shouldn't exist.
So you try and pull up information on programmable matter. It looks like you can tell that there is programmable matter, that this is programmable matter, but it'll take some study and research to eventually figure out. It is going to take a while, I'm going to say, which in reference to what Tropp was asking about for researching the information about the Nexus. What I'm going to do is how I'm going to mechanically run it is I'm going to say each time that we meet, we're going to do a roll to see whether you succeed or fail. And it basically, if you succeed, you get one step closer. If you fail, you take one step back. And that's kind of how we will run. I might even ask for some rolls outside of our normal playtime just to see if I need information on the next session sort of deal. And I'm going to run it like that. So, Banna, you have
Makes perfect sense.
a long-term goal. However, right now, make me your first initial roll. It's going to be a insight and engineering for you. Tropp, yes.
Okay, so just to let you know, this is out of character.
Yeah.
I personally went ahead and looked up the information that Star Trek has given us about the Nexus.
Okay.
The reason that Gwynnian specifically said that she might as well be dead when they saw her within the Nexus is because she was not fully within the Nexus. What they interacted with within the Nexus was an echo of Gwynnian after they had rescued her from fully being pulled in, because she was rescued along with Soren. Anybody who is in there is still conscious, may not realize exactly where they are, but can be convinced of where they are, can leave the Nexus, and can go back. Therefore, they are still alive.
Yeah, we see Picard and Kirk do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that, because Tyler kept reiterating the "you might as well be dead,"
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that I am on the same page as you, out of character, that these people are still in fact alive.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's just that characters, in-universe knowledge for your characters is just not that detailed.
Okay.
Because again, this is why I'm going to have that extra long extended task for you for the research. So, Banna, did you roll?
Sorry, I haven't.
Okay, so
you said insight and engineering?
Yes, hold on, I need to write programmable matter.
I guess I'm going to get one of those for the aromatic syndrome research as well.
Probably, yeah.
And then I'll probably get one for researching the whether people are alive in the Nexus and what data they have on that.
No, sir. Those click math rocks are 100% mine.
2.
You will die.
Okay. All right.
That'd be too much.
Giving me kisses will save you.
2 successes. The research that you pull out so far, just in your quick searching, is that it is something that happened around the after what was called the Temporal Wars, and that it was developed as an offshoot of replicator technology. That's what you get so far. And that it is 100% commonplace throughout the 3000s plus. It is something that even ships can use to modify their own design mid-flight. All right, so we have all of this information. You still have in sickbay. Actually, we have all of this information. It's only been, it's now what, 10 o'clock in the morning. It's been a couple of hours. And we're going to need to wrap up here soon. So, Banna, I'm going to say that you're probably engrossed in the research about programmable matter. Tropp.
After hearing his report.
Until he realizes he has to finish this report. Yeah.
Okay.
Like he's rabbit hole. And what stops him from going further is, oh crap, I have a report to write. He bails and goes and does that.
I was looking forward to not saying that after we were out of the academy. Mine's already written and done. I know that's not usual me, but I was up all night.
So I'm guessing then Tropp is going to be researching Nexus information, or at least trying to access Nexus information.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm going to actually start you off with a reason and science roll.
12?
And you're going surface level. You're trying to see if there's any research information about it. Before you start to try and hack into files.
Yeah. Just what can I get before I start, asking for stuff here? So how many successes am I looking for?
This is just seeing how many successes you get, how many failures you get.
That is a 12 and a 7. So
Perfect.
Exactly and
2. So as you're going through and researching, as Banna suddenly remembers he has to do his report, you're discovering that current known research on the Nexus is what the information you've pulled up. Plus, there's information of people. There's research times of people going into the Nexus and being brought out, and that they tend to be disoriented when they are brought out. However, they are quickly realizing where they are again. There has been a little bit of research with that.
Does it give any particular reason why they're disoriented?
Just general surface level research of this is a side effect of coming out of the Nexus sort of deal.
Okay.
And anything else?
He would make a note of that and let Banna and Rekan know. Well, it does appear that going into the Nexus does not kill you, and that you can, in fact, be brought out again at a later date. How long you lasted there is unknown, as it's not exactly something people attempt to do very often. However, if it has the kind of ability to create entire worlds for people to continue to live in, it's unlikely that it would have any limitations in how long it can keep people there. I think it's safe to say that anybody who has gone in there and stayed in there is still alive.
So, with Banna and Tropp doing their respective things, what is Rekan doing?
He would probably have got Banna's attention long enough to see if he wanted some help researching the Toulouse stuff. Since he is a scientist, medical compared to engineering mind, and if Banna wanted that help.
Absolutely. Here's the detailed scan work I did. There was also this thing, and he reaches down and pulls out the isolinear chip and all of that. Bryce's data is on that other terminal sitting over there, but she'd started building this. If you want to start working on what this is, and what we can do with it, at least, work out some schematics. Maybe it's something we can take on together.
Have you tried testing it yet?
No, I haven't had a chance. I got sidetracked, and well, frankly, Toulouse is sound asleep.
I don't understand that first word.
Sorry.
Okay, there's something happening I can't see. Okay.
Sorry. Back channel.
We still need to talk about the 3-hour comment, Banna.
Believe me, I haven't forgotten.
And I think we can leave it there. I will have Rekan roll for Toulouse info off screen and see where we get with that. And I think that's where we can leave it for right now. I think if everyone's good, if anyone wants to, I mean, we've got a cat attacking, so probably time.
He wants dice.